There's now $1 trillion of value at stake. I never actually said it publicly, so here we go. I think it's going to be $1 million by the end of 2026.
Wow. I just want to make sure Bitcoin isn't another Iraq war.
The fuck do you want me to buy?
I don't even know why I'm listening to this motherfucker. I'm up 14% today, bro. I'm actually up 0.14%. What's up, everybody? Yes, I'm wearing something different. Don't worry about it. Today, we have an incredible guest, okay? Crypto expert, Twitter troll, Anthony Pompliano. This guy's amazing. The guy has 96% of his wealth in crypto, Bitcoin specifically. So who better to explain to us why it's the future than the guy who is betting his entire future on that coin? This episode is about explaining what the fuck is going on in the crypto world. Now, in order for me to understand that, I first got to understand what's going on in the non-crypto world. I wanted to understand what money is, right? What's the difference between money and currency, and just basic economic information. You might be way smarter than me and not need that, so you could jump to around, I don't know, like 28 minutes in where we start the crypto, blockchain, NFT conversation. And but if you're like me and you want to get a nice little background information on how an economy works, you can start listening right now. All right? Enjoy. What's up, everybody? And welcome to Flagrant 2. It's your boy Schulz. We got Akaash Singh in the building, AlexxMedia and Mark Gagnon. The Truffle is here. Miles is even here. And we have a very special guest. I should read off some credits, you know. You're here for one reason. I just want to let you know, because I will not have my friends get rich without me. That's the only reason we're having this conversation. I could give a flying fuck about crypto, but all my friends are invested, and they're invested early, and I'm on this group chat, and I'm putting $200 in a week. I'm putting 100 thing in this, that, the other. What do you think about decentralized? I don't even know these words. And I'm getting so furious that I was the most wealthy of all my friends, and now they're going to be richer than me without working at all.
Well, if you got friends that only are putting $200, then we got to get you new friends.
I need to get new friends. But this is very important. This is fantasy football for me. So this is very important that I cannot let them get rich.
So it's not about the money. It's about winning.
If it went to zero, I wouldn't care about it.
All right.
I hope it goes to zero because I haven't put any money in at all. I swear to God, today I put $60,000 in a Coinbase account.
Okay.
You have until the end of this podcast to convince me to buy a whole Bitcoin.
I mean, by the time we're done, you're going to put $120,000 in the Coinbase account.
I'm just saying. Okay. By the way,
he just cucked you on your own.
He really did cuck me. I feel
That's point one.
I'm getting it from all angles here, dude. Okay. We have in the building Anthony Pompliano. Pomp. You talk a lot of shit on Twitter. I absolutely love it. Yeah. I had a few people reach out to me about you. A buddy of mine, Greg Norman Jr., I don't know if you know him personally, but he knows about you. He's like, you got to get this guy Pomp on. He's talking all this shit on Twitter. He's calling his CNBC. You got these fucking nerds, these finance nerds that are so upset about you. I watched some interview, and there was this finance Dexter just going, oh, but it's not worth anything. And you're just smiling with your perfectly framed eyebrows, just laughing at this guy as he blows a gasket. What's the guy's name?
Which one of them? There's a bunch of them.
But it was so funny. You just sitting there smiling. His Bitcoin is going to the moon, and this guy's losing his fucking shit.
That's all you have to do to the haters. If you just smile, they get real pissed off.
They get so pissed off. And that was me. I was him because I wanted to fail. But here you are. Okay. I am an absolute crypto baboon.
All
okay.
Right.
And I think that because of how fast crypto has taken off, there are people like you that know so much about it. My friends that know so much about it. And then there's this massive intelligence gap, if you will, between the people, and soon to be wealth, between the people who know nothing about it and the people who do.
All right.
So I'm hoping to actually learn some shit about it. Okay.
So we're going to have no fun and all learning?
No fun, all learning.
All right. Fuck
no
you.
Fun. Okay. I'm sorry. You can come back for a fun one after I make a lot of money. Once I'm rich, like my friends, okay, then you can make a lot of money. So here it is. Number one, what is money?
So
that's actually a great question.
Yeah, that is actually the place to start. So you're already ahead of most people.
I know what I'm doing. I've listened to some Tim Ferriss.
So when you think about what is money today, most people think of the US dollar, right? But it's important to separate out a currency and money.
Yes.
So First, a currency is two things: a medium of exchange and a store of value. Meaning that I give it to you, you give me good or service in exchange. We both believe it has value. That's medium of exchange. And store of value means that I save in it, and it's not going to disappear overnight.
Okay.
All right. So I use the U.S. dollar as a currency because historically, money has been sound money, which is outside of the system, and it can't be created by any group of people, any individual, any organization, etc. So
Give me an example of sound money.
gold has served as sound money for thousands of years.
Gotcha.
And if you think about gold and the dollar's relationship, gold's hard as shit to use for anything, right?
Yes.
It's heavy.
Heavy.
Got to break it up. If I want to mail it to somebody, if I put it on the table, say how much is there, you look at me like I'm crazy. You get a scale. Like it's all got all these issues in terms of medium of exchange.
Yeah.
But it served as a great store of value. So over time, in a very overgeneralized way, the way that we started to use sound money easier was we created paper claims on top of the gold. So gold was layer one.
Yes.
We said, well, I'm not carrying around this fucking gold. I'm going to go put it in the bank or a
Yes.
vault, and they're going to give me a claim and say, hey, whenever you want the gold, come back, give me the paper.
Which group of people you think invented that? You think
That's why he's trying to talk on the podcast. You won't let him.
think that? Okay. Yes.
I'm not going there. You guys can cut to whatever you want. So basically, people walk around with these paper claims, right? And they
Yes.
would say, hey, we can now exchange the gold that's sitting in the vault, but we don't actually have to move the gold around.
So the idea was, I'm going to store my gold in the vault because it's too heavy for me to carry around. And then the vault dude was like, hey, I got your stuff. You want me to just give you some slips that prove how much stuff you got? And then you can buy things with that. And then if those people want to come collect the gold, they can just come.
Yes.
So cash is really only formed because it's convenient.
So that was like very simplistic, overgeneralized way of looking at it.
Right.
In 1971, basically, they decided the president of the United States was like, hey, temporarily, I think it would be a good idea where we're going to just create more of the dollars and we're not going to have it pegged to the gold anymore. Because you couldn't just create the paper without having the gold in the vault. Well, as anything with the government, nothing's temporary. We'll get to probably a lot of that later. And so we just never went back.
So we removed the gold standard. Who was that?
1971. Yeah.
Nixon,
Yep.
right? Removes the
Yeah, I
gold
believe
standard.
so, yeah.
Okay.
And so when you do that, now all of a sudden you don't have sound money. So now the currency
Yep.
is viewed as money, right?
Yep.
But the problem is that the government, every government around the world has this benefit or problem, depending how you look at it, where they can just create as much as they want.
Right.
So literally, you and I, we can't go into our bank account. If I'm like, shit, I got $100 and I need 150, I can't just edit the shit and say, now I got 150.
Right.
The government can do that.
Right. I could take a loan out for $50,
Yeah.
right?
And then you'd have $150,
And then I have $150.
but you got to pay it back.
And technically, isn't that what the government do? I don't want to get into too much nuance about like the Fed and stuff, but like, isn't that what they're doing? Aren't they like taking a loan out?
There's a
for
lot
money?
of nuance.
It's not even worth it.
The big takeaway is that the government can create or contract the money supply as they want. So expand or contract as they want. So all of a sudden, what anything happens is like, if you give somebody a money printer, what are they going to do? They're going to fucking print money.
Yeah, this is the stimmy.
Of course.
Okay.
So when you start to think about like what is money, we all view the currency, the dollar, the euro, the yen, whatever, as money, but it's not really sound money, right? And so what that ends up doing
Can
is...
I be honest with you?
Yeah. Are you confused already?
No, I don't view any other currency as money except the dollar.
That's
Like,
probably...
I think it's cute
Yeah.
and it's fun to hold the money.
Like if I gave you euros, what would you do with
If
them?
there's a girl on it, I don't believe in it. Like if the
I don't know
queen
if
is
you're
on
supposed
it,
to say
it's not
that.
real money.
Okay.
It's worth at least 30% less. But
All right.
there's no way I'm actually believing in it.
I'll put this shit down on a Monopoly board to buy Baltic Avenue or something.
Exactly. This is for Baltic.
Not even Boardwalk. Like,
So most of the world, to be fair, most of the world also feels very similar in that they want dollars.
They want
right?
that.
The dollar is the global reserve currency.
Because it's kind of backed in a weird way, right? Like, isn't it backed?
Yeah, like there's other countries in the world that basically say like we have our own currency, but like it's pegged to the dollar.
Right.
Or other countries around the world are like, yeah, what's the US doing with their monetary policy? Like we're going to do something similar.
Because we got the boys, right?
Because it's backed by, the
boys.
guns, and they don't carry gold AKs. They, drop big bombs and shit, right?
Yeah.
So, and
But also you could make an argument that it's backed by like the purchase of gas, right? Of oil.
So oil is definitely a big piece of this. So the whole idea is that oil is priced in dollars.
And I think purchased in dollars, right? At least if you're buying it from.
Well, if you price it in dollars, you can't give them something else. You got to purchase it in dollars,
gotcha.
right? So the whole idea is if it's priced in dollars, purchased in dollars, then the dollar is going to be the global reserve currency. Oil runs the world. There's been a couple of guys who've decided that they didn't want to, price things in dollars anymore.
What happened to those cute puppies right there that tried to...
You're going to have to go 6 feet under to find them.
Yeah. So Dom tried to get cute.
So the whole idea of pricing oil not in dollars is not very sustainable idea for people. But long story short, it's just like we took ourselves off this gold standard. Everyone around the world did it. Now you have governments that can create and contract the money supply. The argument for doing it is that when bad things happen, we have a response. We can act. We can manipulate interest rates. We can create money, do all this like super complex finance mumbo jumbo. At the end of the day, what it does is it manipulates the market. So let's use a real example of what's happened over the last 12 months. In February, people heard about this coronavirus thing. Most of us probably were like, the hell is this thing? Like, I'm still going to the club. I'm going to the bar. I'm doing whatever. March comes around. In New York, all of a sudden, they're like, yo, some dude from Rochester keeps coming in to Grand Central, and he had coronavirus. And I remember Googling and be like, oh, there's 750,000 people in Grand Central. They're never going to control this thing. Like, this dude with coronavirus just came through Grand Central, there's 750,000 people, and they're like, all right, I don't know what happens next, but like, something tells me it's not going to be good. And within like a week, they were like, we're shutting everything down, yada, yada, whatever. Everyone go home. So literally, when you think about an economy, it's all about velocity of money, right? It's just how much do we continue to do commerce with each other? How much do you invest? How much do I buy from you? And as you have that velocity of money, that keeps an economy growing, keeps the economy going. But if you tell everyone, yo, time out, go home, and stop doing shit with each other, velocity goes down, right? And bad stuff starts happening. So when
velocity, you mean like consumption, right? We just need to keep on
consumption, investment, just everything. Because
a shark needs to swim to breathe, and a economy needs to spend in order to.
It needs to be velocity of money. Gotcha. Exactly.
Okay. The only real transactions we increased were like Amazon. That's pretty much it.
Right.
Digital businesses took off.
We're not eating out. We're not traveling. We're not doing. There's no transfers of money. Except Amazon. That's it.
Right. Exactly. Right.
So basically, what happened?
Did really well. Not everybody.
Well, so here's what ends up happening: is as soon as you get the lack of velocity of money, you basically expose all the problems in the system, right? Because the velocity of money keeps things going. So imagine if we just passing money around to each other, right? And I knew that I owe him money, but it's cool because you're going to give me the money, and as long as we keep that game going,
everything's good.
I'm always going to do it. But what happens when you stop giving me the money? Then I stop giving him the money. Then he stops giving the next person the money.
The buck stops somewhere.
Just the whole thing starts to shake. So what ends up happening is in 2008 and last year, the government, elected officials, Federal Reserve, all the smart people in suits, ties, and cologne, they all get together and they basically are like, yo, we're going to save the day. The problem is that when they step in to save the day, they only have two tools, right? So if you're a central banker or you're elected official, you basically can manipulate interest rates. Think of that as the incentive to borrow money, right? So if you got to owe back a lot of money, you're not going to borrow a lot, right? If I owe you 10% of every dollar I borrow from you, I'm not borrowing money. But if I owe you nothing,
I'm going to borrow it all.
I'm going to borrow as much as I can. They're literally going to give me free money. The fuck do you want me to buy? Right? The money's good. It's a US dollar. It's not any other money. Like I'll borrow it all day long.
Increases velocity of transactions.
Exactly. So they literally in March of 2020, they did 2 emergency rate cuts. So this is when it started to get crazy because basically they have these periodic meetings, right? And they come out and they have these press conferences and our entire monetary policy system is like the most dinosaur antiquated thing in the world. They're literally out here saying, we're going to wait to watch what this guy says in the press conference. If he uses the word dovish, then like we're going to do one thing. If he says this other word in the press conference, we're going to go do this other thing. It's nuts. So what ended up happening was they couldn't wait for the next meeting to go ahead and make these decisions. So twice they had emergency rate cuts, meaning we're going to issue a press release. We're cutting the rate. And they did it twice and they cut us to 0%. Free money. Game on.
People went for it.
Well, it started that way, but that wasn't enough. So then what they said was, on top of that, we're going to create a bunch more money and we're just going to start stuffing liquidity into the market.
So they bought corporate debt? Is that?
That's way later.
Okay.
Basically, all they said was, we're going to create all this money. At first, it was, a couple $100 billion, which doesn't sound too crazy today, but like that's a lot of money. I don't have a couple $100 billion. I don't think anybody else here does.
I don't know. You might.
And then all of a sudden, they did another trillion, but it was $2 trillion. Then they did more. Then they did more. Then more. Now, to be fair, part of the problem, and early on, I was saying things that people were literally laughing at me. They were like, you're fucking crazy. I wrote a piece in like maybe second, third week of March, and I said, we're going to have as bad as unemployment as the Great Depression here in the United States because of this. And people were like, that's nuts. So I went back and I looked, and it basically the way that the Great Depression is a 5-year period, we went from like historic low unemployment of 2-3%, whatever it was, up to 22, 23, 24%, right? That took 5 years to play out. And so what you look at is the first year it was, 3%. Then the next year it was like 8%. Then the next year was like 15%. Then the next year was like 21%. We went from fucking 2.5% or 3%, whatever we had in February of 2020, to over 12% unemployment in this country in a matter of weeks. The most number of people who had ever filed for first-time unemployment claims in the United States before 2020 was like 820,000 people back in 1982, right? Somewhere around 800,000 people.
Yeah.
There was 6.6 million people who filed for unemployment in a 1 week in March. And the reason why I think it was 6.6 was literally because they couldn't process more than that. Like literally there was multiple weeks where it was 6.6. Like how the fuck was it always 6.6? I literally think that you couldn't process more unemployment claims that quickly. Like people were on the website like, yo, process this shit. And the website was like, we broke. Like we can't take any more people.
Wow.
So it was an extreme economic event.
So you're saying even the 12% unemployment or whatever might have been underselling it just because
well, that's the official numbers. I mean, the unofficial numbers, like if you're a freelancer, if you're a Uber driver, whatever, like you're not considered an employee. So like a lot of times, depending on how you count, all this shit, right? So long story short, it's a bad economic event. Small businesses are in trouble, all this stuff. And it was compounded because it wasn't just like, oh, there's a little bit of velocity of money that's slowing down. Then they were like, it's illegal for you to run your business.
Yeah.
It is illegal. We literally are going to come and find you, arrest you, like all this shit. Like the fuck out of here. It's illegal for me to run my business, to make a living. It is illegal. We're going to outlaw you making a living, right? Yeah. And so remember, 55% of jobs in America are from small businesses. Over half the jobs in America come from small business owners.
Yeah.
And so when you look at that, you say, wait a second, you're telling me that half the jobs in America now, you're telling the people who employ those jobs, it's illegal. You cannot run your business. You cannot have people come in person. Yeah. So as you mentioned, if you're Amazon, if you're a digital business, you're good. People are sitting at home. They got all the time in the world.
It's great for you.
Podcasts, downloads explode, like all this stuff, right? Yeah. But if you're a restaurant and you got no technology to do online delivery, you're screwed. Yeah. Right? And so what ends up happening is the government stepped in. When the government stepped in, they basically said, we're just going to start handing money to everybody. So they were doing PPP loans. They were handing out, doing bailouts, like all this crazy shit. And the reason why myself and other people got so pissed off was you're looking at businesses. Take the airline business. This is the wildest shit ever. Yeah. For 10 years, the airline companies basically said, we got all these profits. We're making so much money. And they were taking their profits, and rather than saving it or investing it in R&D to make their businesses better, they were taking the dollars and they were buying back their stock.
R&D is research and development.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm just making sure people don't think it's a stock that they're like, I got to get an R&D. Like,
it is not a stock.
A lot of dumb people listening.
Yeah. That's all right. I'm dumb too. So we're all friends.
That's why we're talking about
us.
This is why we're all friends. So long story short is basically somebody like the airline company who had taken 80-90% of their free cash flow, right? Basically the money they made, and they're buying back their stock and their executives were getting rich. Then the second this all happened, rather than say, oh shit, we're going to go bankrupt, and we either have to go raise what they call equity capital, meaning somebody's going to invest in our business so we can pay our employees, do all this stuff, or raise debt, they ran to the government begging for a bailout. And so it's like, wait a second, the government's the idiot in the room here because there's no investor in the world who's going to give them the terms that the U.S. government gave them. The U.S. government gave these people hundreds of billions of dollars and said, by the way, a third of it at a minimum, you don't have to pay us back. It's free money.
Yeah.
It's a good deal.
By the way, we should have been in the fucking airline business. They would have given us hundreds of billions of dollars for free. Like, what the fuck is going on here?
Is that kind of a thing the banks proved in 2008, though, where it's like kind of a leverage play? Like, what are you really going to do? You're just going to let the airline industry shut down? Government? Then what?
But here's the whole thing is what we found is, and this is a big misconception about bankruptcy. Everyone's like, oh my God, don't let them go into bankruptcy. Like, what are we going to have? No fucking planes? Yeah. Like, no, when it goes into bankruptcy, it basically is somebody saying, yo, I need protection because all this is going to go away. What happens is the assets don't go anywhere, right? The assets get bought by somebody else. Capital is reallocated. Somebody else comes in and runs an airline. They may change the name or do something else, but it's not like the airplanes fucking disappear, right? It's not like all those employees, all of a sudden, they don't have jobs anymore, right? There's reorganizations. They may go to a new airline, whatever. And so basically just the government panicked, right? And they just kept printing money. They've done this 3 times now. $6 trillion. The Federal Reserve's asset base, right, has basically gone up over 100% now, I think, in the last 12 months.
Yeah.
So 40% of all dollars that exist have been printed in the last 12 months.
Yeah. I think
That's
they printed more money than they collected in taxes last year.
You want to hear a fucking crazy stat?
Yeah.
Since 2011, the U.S.
That
government
one was crazy, but yeah.
the U.S. government's collected more revenue from federal income tax every single year since 2011.
Yeah.
So it's like a business. They're making more money every year.
Yeah.
But at the same time, every single year, what they call the intra-year deficit, basically, are you positive or negative on your balance sheet of the year, has gotten bigger and bigger. Meaning, although they're collecting more money every year, they're actually losing more money every year.
Still finding a way to lose money.
So guess what? That's not a fucking income problem. That's a spending problem.
Yes. Yes. But then you could go back to your earlier point, which is we need to spend. We need the velocity. So is that good?
But we don't need the government to spend. We need you to spend. We need you to spend. We need me to spend.
If the government gives me money to spend, or if the government spends it itself.
So here's
Does it
where
matter?
all of this is frankly just bullshit.
Yeah.
Right.
And I don't want to get too much into the minutia of this because I do want to talk about crypto, but this is just to give us like a baseline.
This is
of
the
what,
most
this is
important
interesting
part of what I'm
'cause
going to
it
say.
seems like, and I don't support the way the government spends its money, but it seems like they're in between a rock and a hard place. You need the economy to speed up. How the fuck else can we do it?
Basically, think of it as a short-term versus a long-term solution.
Yep.
If you optimize for the long-term, short-term pain. If you're a politician, guess what happens? You don't get paid for making good, sound, long-term decisions.
Correct.
You get paid for fucking helping people today. Right. And guess what people love to hear? I'm going to give you free money.
Yeah.
Right?
This is shout out to Andrew Yang. This is, he's going to be the mayor of New York because he said, I'll give you $1,000. So a term that we hear often.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah,
we got to get the most important part.
Go.
Which is this whole idea that they're giving you the free money. So if I give you $5, right, and I'm like, yo, buy that coffee, and I'm going to give you the $5 to do it, but also when I give you the $5, that coffee now costs $6, I actually didn't help you. I fucked you, right? Because what I'm doing is the cost of goods are going up. So here's the biggest sham of it all, is that there's something called official numbers that the government reports. The government comes out, it's like, oh, look, inflation's this number, unemployment's this number. And then everyone basically behind closed doors that's like in the know, they're like, yo, psst, but like the unofficial numbers. So like, what the fuck is the unofficial inflation number? The official number is like 1.4.
But unofficially.
But like, hey, psst, the unofficial number is like 5. Or 4,
I don't see how
10.
you can keep printing money without massive inflation.
So I guess my curiosity about inflation, again, I don't want to get too much into this. I want to get to crypto.
Yeah, we're like talking about like super like serious shit here.
Yeah,
I thought I was coming to have fun.
This is good. I like the fact this is serious. Now, my curiosity about the inflation is, my understanding about inflation is it's not about the printing of money. You get inflation when there's more money than there are things to buy.
Kind of.
If we're making it in its most simplest term.
Yeah.
And because there wasn't that velocity of the economy earlier, the increase in money just has to match the velocity that the Fed wants.
Here's a simpler way to think about it. As you create more money, you devalue the thing you're creating, right? So if something's scarce, there's less. If something's plentiful, it's worth less. If you take the U.S. stock market from 1971 and you denominate it in dollars, it looks like a perfect line up and to the right at a 45-degree angle, right? There's dips along the way, whatever, but it's a 45-degree angle for decades. Mm-hmm. If you denominate the same stock market in gold and sound money, the stock market's down since 1971. So is it actually that the stock market's accruing value, or is it that the dollar's being devalued? Because it's a fraction, right?
Shit.
A share versus a dollar.
That's a bar.
So here, ready for this?
Yes.
That fucked me up, dude.
This is why the wealth inequality gap gets so bad, right? So this, forget all Bitcoin, forget all stuff. The number one thing people need to understand is the richest people in America know one secret, and it's don't hold cash. Invest. Hold investable assets.
Fuck, that's all I do is hold cash.
Yeah.
Literally all
I've been trying to tell you this for years.
All I do.
For years I've been telling you this.
Oh my God.
But you're still much richer than me, so don't worry about it. But for years I've been telling you.
I want to keep it that way. That's why we have Anthony here.
Yeah, 100%.
You told me that you have almost one whole Bitcoin, and I literally... Let me tell you something. I listened to Tim Ferriss's podcast immediately. I was like, I need to know what the fuck Akaash knows that I don't know. I was absolutely furious. And then Mark reminded me, he's like, yeah, I think Akaash is all in on Bitcoin. And I was like, it's at $60,000. What? I was
So
going
this is
crazy.
actually maybe a good segue into Bitcoin.
Buy another shirt.
I can't. All my money's in Bitcoin. What do you want from me?
No, but literally, I'm such a fucking baboon with money. I keep it in my bank account. I even tell my business manager, I was like, no, don't put it anywhere.
Yeah, but think about this, right? You're financially incentivized not to hold cash. So they're devaluing
All I do is hold the cash.
They tell you, right? The official numbers are, hey, we're going to devalue it on average about 2% a year.
Yeah.
Right? So if you have $100, you're losing purchasing power every year. If you hold it for 5 years, right, it's worth less. And so the idea is
so valuable
that you have two options.
Yeah.
If you know the dollar, like think of it as a melting ice cube, right?
Yep.
And you know your cash is losing its purchasing power. You can either do one of two things. You can exchange it for goods and services. You can consume velocity of money. Let's fucking roll. Let's make the government happy. Or you can invest. I don't want to fucking just spend it and own some bullshit thing that's not going to be worth more money in the future. I want to buy real estate, stocks, precious metals, Bitcoin, whatever. So what ends up happening is that the bottom 45% of Americans have no investable assets. They own nothing. They are you. You are the bottom 45% of Americans, maybe not in net worth, but in mindset, right? And education.
That's the most insulting.
Yeah.
On this podcast.
Yeah.
Keep going, Anthony.
So the bottom 45%, when this happens, basically the money's being devalued.
Yeah.
Literally 45% of Americans are getting poorer and poorer over time because their net worth, they live paycheck to paycheck, all their cash is in the bank, it's losing value. Rich people are sitting there. Guess what happened when they were printing all this money? The stock market went to the fucking moon.
Because people are like, I got to get my money out of cash.
Because they're just printing liquidity everywhere. Guess what else went up?
Yeah.
Gold, Bitcoin, real estate, all investable assets go up because they're devaluing the dollar. And so the other component of this that makes it even worse is that if you're in the bottom 40, 50% of Americans, the goods you consume, the things you buy are super inflationary. You buy gas, you buy food, you buy all this stuff, right? People at the top on a percentage basis, the amount of money they spend on gas and food is like minuscule compared to the investing they do, right? If you're rich, you do a lot more investing than you do consuming gas and food. If you're not rich, you spend an inordinate amount of your income on rent, gas, food, etc. So guess what's been happening? Food prices have gone through the fucking roof. Gas prices have gone through the roof, right? All this stuff. So literally the bottom half of America is being put in a worse situation than the top half.
Yeah.
They say, sorry to interrupt, but they say, I think they say like poor people spend, middle class people save, rich people invest.
That's a great way to think about it.
Yeah.
But it would seem the middle class people, as the dollar loses more and more value, like you said, it's a melting ice cube. So their savings is worth less and less. And that's how the wealth gap.
So the most egregious example of this is in countries where there's hyperinflation, right? We don't have hyperinflation in America. I don't think hyperinflation is coming anytime soon, right? But if you look at a hyperinflationary environment, let's say like Venezuela, Zimbabwe, etc., you could literally start the day off and you're like, yo, I want that cup of coffee. It costs the equivalent of $5. And by nighttime, it costs $10.
Whoa.
Oh, shit.
And you're just like, yo, you're just watching this shit fall. Like literally they're changing the prices as it goes. I have in my wallet right now, I think it's a $50 million Bolivar bill. And I think it's a $100 trillion or a $1 trillion Zimbabwe bill.
Wow.
Like they used to not have that. Now they have that. Why? Because literally the dollar got devalued. Those currencies got devalued so much that they literally had to create bigger and bigger denominations so you could actually carry it around.
You've heard the stories about this. Like I think in the South during the Civil War, they created, the South created their own currency, and then people were like wheelbarrowing them down to the store to get milk. Yeah. Okay. So a term you hear often when we're speaking about crypto, but also regular currency, is a fiat currency. What is a fiat currency?
I laughed in your face again when you said
No, because the way you're saying it. So so fiat literally is just some smart term somebody made up. All it means is it's a government-backed currency.
That's it.
That they can create.
You can print as much as you want. You can.
The government controls it.
Got you. Okay.
Unlimited supply, government controls it.
U.S. dollar fiat currency.
Sound money, nobody controls. Limited supply.
Got you. Okay. Now, Bitcoin,
this is like a fucking spelling bee, right?
I know, this is great. So Bitcoin comes about. Bitcoin is fueled by technology called the blockchain or blockchain technology, whatever it is. What the fuck is the blockchain? I need to know what this is.
How do you keep laughing? You don't.
No.
Let it go. Let it go.
Disrespectful.
Yeah.
So let's start with blockchain technology.
Yeah.
Blockchain technology was created to solve a problem called the double spend problem. So you got to understand the problem to understand the solution. If I create music and I put it out in a digital format, it's a music file, right? You have the music file and you're listening to shit. You're like, damn, Pomp is a fucking banger.
Yeah.
Andrew wants it. He's like, yo, send me the song. You hit send. When you hit send, the computer program creates a copy, sends him the song. He's now listening to my song, but you still have my song as well. You both can listen. You're both happy. You're like, yo, we can listen to the cool song, right? But you don't know who has the original and who has the copy. All you know is you got a file, you got a file. That's fine when it's music. That's fine when it's a photo. That's fine when it's all these things that it doesn't matter about scarcity. But with money, if I have a fucking digital dollar and you say, send me the dollar, and I send you it, and now you got it and I got it, well, who's got the dollar? Who's got the real? Who's got the counterfeit? We don't know. And so there's been a bunch of people over the years who have tried to create digital currency, but this has been the big problem, is the file can be replicated easily and you can't prove what the original is. So that's called a double spend problem. He could send it to you and then send it to me, and we both think we got the dollar, but actually we just got copies and he still has the dollar. Seems like a problem.
Isn't this how banking works to a certain extent?
Let's not go there.
But I don't want to spend too much time, but isn't that the whole idea of like, if the bank only needs to keep 10% of the reserves in the bank and there's $100,000, can't you lend out 90 to him and now you just made 190? Well, you just made $90,000 out of nowhere.
So there's leverage, there's all this complexity, but basically what they're doing in that situation is they're not creating new currency. What they're doing is they're borrowing it, or you're depositing it with them, and they're lending it on the back end, and they're doing all this stuff. But technically, is it your money? Is it an IOU that they have?
But you've made more out of nowhere.
No, because you gave them some money. Then there's leverage. They can borrow. They can do all this stuff. The key to this is counterfeit versus original.
I understand that.
Right?
I understand. I just think that the idea of like printing money isn't that novel, because like if you're
banks want to be central banks. We can get into that.
No. Well, let's stay cryptic. But like, let's say I give you $100,000 to keep in your Bank of America, and he wants a loan. You could give him $90,000 of my $100,000, but I can get my $100,000 whenever I want, and he can get his 90 whenever he wants. So you just made $90,000 out of nowhere.
So when you give me the money, a lot of people don't know this, it's not your money anymore.
What?
When you deposit the money in the bank, it's not your money. They have an IOU. They owe you $100,000, but technically it's their money now.
Oh shit.
Pump.
All right, let's get back to blockchain. Ready?
Okay. So
That's a fact.
So you ready? Yeah, that's a fact. So look, here's the whole idea of a blockchain is if we sit down and
so blockchain verifies the original.
At a very high level, but here's how it works. Let's say we go to play Monopoly. This is the best way to describe it. 4 of us sit down to play Monopoly. And with Monopoly, there's a bank, and then each of us have the money in the game, and we set it out in front of us, right? And the reason why Monopoly works is because as we are doing transactions, you owe him money. Bam, I see you hand him the $200. He hands me the money, right? All this stuff. We don't need a fifth person to stand over us and act as the banker or the centralized entity who does all the transactions, because there's full transparency. Right? If you ever play with a kid and they put the money under the table, you're like, yo, get that shit up here. Like, I don't know what the fuck you're doing, but like, I don't trust you, right? So when the money's transparently put on the table and then all the transactions happen in front of everybody, we all don't have to trust that it's being done correctly. We can verify it. I saw you give them the $200. I know.
Yeah.
So a blockchain basically is if we were playing that game and we had a piece of paper and I wrote down every transaction, right? I said, yo, I gave Andrew $200. Right? You here.
So it's a ledger.
But every 10 minutes, I ripped off the piece of paper and I put it to the side and I said, all right, that was the first 10 minutes of the game. That's all the transactions that happened. And then all of a sudden we played for the next 10 minutes, started a new piece of paper, did it again, bam, done. I rip off that piece. I stack it on top of the first 10 minutes. We keep playing. We've been playing for 50 minutes. Now there's 5 pieces of paper sitting over here. And you go, you know what? I think that you owe me $30. I can say, no, actually, in minute 32, let me go back to the transactions and I can show you that I gave you that $30 already. That's essentially what a blockchain does. But rather than it be on paper, what it does is every 10 minutes, it takes all of the transactions that happen on the Bitcoin network, and it basically puts it into a block. So it's literally, just think of it almost like in an overgeneralized way, a Excel file, right, of all the transactions. And then there's people who run the network. They validate, yep, looks good. And as long as more than 51% of people validate it, they chain the block of transactions to the last one. And it goes all the way back to the beginning. So from January 3rd, 2009, you can go back on a blockchain and see every single transaction that's ever happened in this network. So it's literally blocks of transactions that are chained together.
Yeah.
Bitcoin block
Potentially
chain.
really stupid question. Is that hackable?
So can it ever be hacked? Any computer network, quote unquote, could be hacked.
Right.
The probability that it gets hacked is near zero because it is the strongest computing network in the world. And the whole idea behind the Bitcoin network is that it's decentralized.
Yes.
So when I talked about us playing Monopoly, if there was a fifth person who was like the boss of the game, then that would be like the centralized, that'd be like the bank, right? And so today, if I want to send money to one of you through the US system, a bank says, I'm going to debit Pomp's account and I'm going to credit Andrew's, right?
Yeah.
But what if we don't need them? A peer-to-peer. I just want to send it to you. I don't want anyone else to fuck with it. I want to just send it to you. So decentralization means that there's nowhere to hack it.
51% consensus in order to put it on the blockchain.
Yes.
What is that 51% of whom?
So the way that it works is there's miners around the world. And this goes to decentralization. So if there's not a centralized company that owns this thing, who runs it? Well, there's people running the software. They have specialized computers. Think of it like a data center, right? They plug them in, and what they're doing is they're running all these computations. Super complex process. We don't need to go into what they're doing
solving
exactly.
Problems, right?
Solving problems.
They get rewarded for solving the problems.
There's a financial incentive. So every 10 minutes in the beginning, 50 Bitcoin were given out to the network. And if you were running computers, you had a chance to get some of those 50 Bitcoin every 10 minutes.
If you solved enough problems. You get rewarded for the...
You get rewarded.
Gotcha.
As you know more than you're letting on. As you're doing this, what ends up happening is that went on for 4 years. Every 10 minutes for 4 years, 50 Bitcoin. After 4 years, programmatically, meaning it was written into the code, it cut from 50 to 25. So what happens if you have a fixed supply and demand keeps going up and the incoming supply drops? The fucking price goes up.
Correct me if I'm wrong here. Now that there's less, are there more problems that you essentially have to solve in order to access a new bit of coin? In other words, does the processing go up to mine a new coin?
Along
with the...
In a way, the better way, I think people that are kind of learning about all this to think about it is the more competition there is for the Bitcoin reward, the more work you have to do. The other thing is that there's less Bitcoin. So it went from 50 to 25, 25 to 12.5, 12.5 to now 6.25. Eventually it'll get cut in half again in about 3.5 years.
And this is to maintain value along with demand.
Think about Visa. When Visa runs the transaction, the Visa network, we pay for it. We and the merchants pay to use the system. All of that revenue goes onto a centralized P&L, right? Like into their bank account. It sits there, and if you're a Visa shareholder, that's part of your money. Well, when you have a decentralized entity, where does that go? The transaction fees plus this Bitcoin reward basically gets distributed on across all these people running the network. So you today could go become a quote unquote owner in a sense, right, of a portion of the revenue of the Bitcoin network. You got to go get a computer, you plug it in, you point it to this network, you start running the software, and now all of a sudden you're one of millions of miners around the world. And every time a new person joins to get part of this revenue, it becomes more and more decentralized, which means that whether it's the government, whether it's a hacker, whether it's whoever, they have to basically penetrate everybody. They can't just, or 51% of people, right? They can't just penetrate your computer or your computer. They got to get more of the control of the network. And that's what makes it so secure.
And my understanding is that it takes an immense amount of processing power to mine for this Bitcoin.
A ton.
It's
the strongest computing network in the world. Meaning if you take all the computing power that's pointed at this thing and running the software, it's by far the strongest network in the world.
Okay, now, what happens, and this is not me trying to poke holes, this is literally me just trying to understand it. What happens, I mean, the processing speed of computers has increased exponentially over the last decade, right? What happens if
you sound like a fucking technologist? Go ahead.
Okay, now maybe I know something. So what happens if we get a computer whose processing speed is faster than the inhibitor of the blockchain? So in other words, it can mine so quickly that it can scoop out a bunch of Bitcoins that the program was not thinking we're going to get scooped out. What is the protection for that?
So there's a couple of different things you're asking about. One is there's still only a certain number of Bitcoin that are put out in a period of time. So it's not like, there's a honey pot and you can just go grab all the Bitcoin immediately, from a conceptual standpoint. The second thing is quantum computing, which would be a super complex, high-powered computer, whatever everyone's always talking about. One is, as the nefarious actors with technology increase, so does the defense. Right? Like technology is a cat and mouse game between bad actors and like law enforcement, for example.
Right.
So who's the first to adopt all this technology?
Porn.
criminals, right? All these people
I
who
heard
were,
about Bitcoin because there was a drug dealer who was worth like hundreds of millions of dollars in Bitcoin.
Of course.
2010.
Yeah.
So basically what ends up happening is as those quantum computers get created, there will be defense against them. And the Bitcoin network continues to get upgraded, the software, whatever. But more importantly is the game theory. So what makes Bitcoin valuable? There's 21 million, demand is increasing, and no one's ever hacked it. The second somebody hacks that Bitcoin network, most of the value is going to be lost or it's going to drastically be reduced. So if you go in and you steal all the Bitcoin, like you hack the actual network, I don't hack your wallet, but I hack the network, all of a sudden the economic value of the network drastically drops. And so I would have to be a non-economic actor, somebody who doesn't care about the money to do this. And so I would have to have some other purpose for going to do it. But if I had a quantum computer, I'm not fucking hacking the Bitcoin network. There's a lot of other shit I'm going to hack because I might actually get the money and the value that I can get rather than the Bitcoin network.
Right. Okay, so let's say it's secure. So let's say it's secure. I assume it's secure. That's totally fine. The only other outside influence that I could see negatively affecting Bitcoin, and I'm speaking about Bitcoin as if it's all cryptos, right?
It's not.
I know it's not, but I'm just speaking about it in that way. It's just easier, right? But we can get to the, what are they called?
Yeah.
Altcoins or something
Let's
like
just
that?
stick with Bitcoin.
Yeah, we'll stick with Bitcoin for now because you're more invested in Bitcoin, right? What do you got? 90% of your wealth in Bitcoin?
95,
95. Okay, so let's promote Bitcoin.
It's like 60K.
Okay. If it's 60K, get the fuck out of my studio. Okay. I need multiple commas, buddy. All right. So let's say, for example, and I heard this is kind of happening in different parts of the world. I think India, actually, there's legislation that might be passed where they're going to limit people from having Bitcoin, making people divest
Just say
from
they're
Bitcoin.
trying to ban it.
They're trying to ban it.
Pakistan did ban it, but then
Whoa, we
apparently-
don't talk about them.
That's true. But then I think you might
No,
talk about
Nigeria, Pakistan, a number of other countries have all banned it. India's talking about it now.
Right.
Basically, what ends up happening is you can't ban a inanimate object, right?
Right.
Like if you pick up that $100 bill and you start screaming at it, the dollar doesn't give a fuck,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
What you can do is you can ban us from holding it, using it, transacting in it, trying to buy it, whatever.
Yeah.
So a key piece of regulation is the asset itself is unregulated, not in a negative sense, but it's just like the dollar's not regulated, Bitcoin's not regulated. It's the companies and the people who transact with it are the ones who have to follow the rules.
Yeah.
And by the way, guess what? Governments have a monopoly on violence. So if you don't follow the rules, they put you in jail, right? That's their whole freaking game. So the idea here is if they want to ban Bitcoin, they're going to say you can't own it, you can't buy it, you can't transact with it, and you can't mine it. Right? Those four things. Well, guess what? They've said that in some countries, and guess what happened? Adoption went through the roof.
Through the roof, yeah.
Because basically people said, okay, so it's
Streisand
illegal.
effect.
It's illegal for me to hold this. All right. Well, what are you going to do if I hold it? You're going to come to all of our houses and take all of our Bitcoin off our computers?
Yeah.
It also makes you
Okay.
think like there must be something to this if you guys are trying to ban it.
Yes.
There must be some reason you're trying to ban
Well,
it.
and look at the countries in which they're doing this, right? It's not exactly countries where people really think the government has their best interest at heart.
Right.
Fact.
And also, it's not in countries exactly where the currency's been super stable and like they think that the currency is the best place to store their wealth either.
Okay.
So I don't think that India should ban it, but if they do, adoption's going to go through the roof.
Right.
And so they're, again, caught in a hard place, right? Between a rock and a hard place, which is if I ban it, I'm going to drive adoption. If I don't ban it, adoption's still going to happen. So what do? They have this third option. They all think that they're like, galaxy brains. They're like, yo, we're going to create our own.
Yeah.
We're going to create a digital dollar, a digital euro, a digital ruble.
Yes.
Only thing that's going to do is it's basically just going to make everyone go get digital wallets.
Yes.
So they're going to be like, yo, we want to give you a digital dollar. All right, what do I need? I need a digital wallet. Cool. I'm going to go get that. But wait, this still gets devalued at the same rate?
Right.
Why don't I just click a button and change my dollars into Bitcoin?
To the one that doesn't get devalued.
Yeah, that sounds like a pretty good idea.
So let's assume it's not going to get hacked. And let's assume that even if they do restrict it in any way, it just drives the value through the roof because people will be more interested. Let's assume that. And I'm not sure that that's 100% accurate, but let's just assume it. I'm fine with that.
Are you trying to hedge right now?
I'm not trying to hedge. I'm just trying to understand everything that's going on.
You had Alex Jones on and you didn't hedge shit, and then I come in here and you're hedging?
I'm just saying, bro. Let me understand everything I'm getting into. I wasn't
Alex
investing
Jones
in
might
Alex.
have more Bitcoin than you, actually.
Dude, do you hear what happened with him?
my friend Max Kaiser gave him what is now like $600 million worth of Bitcoin, and he lost
told
it.
that story on the pod.
Oh, did he tell it on
That's
here?
why I slapped him in the face. I told him, I was like, dude, that's $510 million worth of Bitcoin. He goes, you're going to slap me in my face right now.
Kaiser confirmed it.
Isn't that crazy?
What was 10,000 Bitcoin?
10,000 Bitcoin.
Yeah, so the other 10,000 Bitcoin was used to buy these 2 pizzas on Pizza Day, May of like, I think 2010. Somebody spent 10,000 Bitcoin to buy 2 fucking pizzas. And they've asked the guy, and he's like, yeah, it was worth it.
Yeah, I think so.
You have to say that so you don't fucking kill yourself.
Well, no, because he probably has like
200,000
Bitcoin that, you know, still sitting there.
Okay, so I can't believe that. So here's something that a curiosity I've had. Okay, we're looking at Bitcoin as if it's currency, right? But you told me that it takes immense processing power every time a transaction is made, or at least every 10 minutes.
Yep.
Is it functional to do that for a cup of coffee? Is it functional to do that when you got to buy a new fucking pencil or something like that, buy a beer at a bar? Is Bitcoin functional as a currency, or is it better to look at Bitcoin in the same way we looked at gold?
It's an asset.
Where it's a store of value, and then what we do is we add a currency on top of it that's maybe less secure, but let Bitcoin or these other cryptos be the store. Is that?
You're heading in the right direction.
Okay, so take me there.
Gold layer 1, we added paper claims on the gold as a layer 2.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Then we eventually created credit, electronic money, all this stuff on top of it. But the whole idea was it was tied back to gold as the layer 1.
Yes.
Right? And that was the store of value. And then we created these layers on top to make it easier to transact, better medium of exchanges.
Yeah.
What's happening with Bitcoin is there's a direct trade-off between security and, you know, ease of use, speed, transactions, whatever this bullshit you want to describe, right? And the mistake that many people are making outside of Bitcoin, you fucking are leading me right with the breadcrumbs, so congratulations, is that Bitcoin says security is the most important thing.
Yes.
Right? If it's secure, that means no one can hack it.
Yes.
Nobody can take us down. Governments can't fuck with us. 21 million will only ever be the number, blah, 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 whatever. We're going to choose to do that. We know that it will not be the fastest transactions. We know that all these other things are direct trade-offs, but security is the number one thing. If you don't choose security first, fuck you, you're wrong, right?
Just
That's Bitcoin's approach.
To put that in perspective, is the reason why if you buy a coffee at Starbucks for $5, they don't ask to see your ID. If you buy for $25, they're like, we need to see your ID. And that's just because they're basically going, it's worth it for us to lose a couple $5 transactions for fraud so that we don't have to waste time making a signature every single time.
Starbucks asks you for your ID?
At $25. I make big coffee purchases, buddy. I don't know about you, okay? I'm buying 5 people coffee over here. It's big business.
All right.
Anyway.
So basically what's happening now is the layer 1, super secure, never been hacked, you know, working perfectly. Now there's a layer 2 being built. There's a whole bunch of innovation that's happening there, experimentation, etc. So got everything from the Lightning Network, RSK, Sovereign, IOV. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that's happening there. This thing called Blockstack and Hero, right? All this stuff is happening. And I probably forgot a bunch of people are going to be mad at me now.
But essentially, they're recognizing the limitations of Bitcoin as a currency. So they're adding another layer where they can use it for other exchange.
Well, remember, a currency is store of value and medium of exchange. Doesn't mean it's a good medium of exchange or a fast medium of exchange.
Right.
Just the fact that you can exchange it for goods and services. And great stat for you is that Bitcoin's annual transaction volume, the amount of transactions actually on chain, not traded on these exchanges, actually on chain, is more. People did more transaction volume last year than Apple Pay, Venmo, or PayPal.
And it was still able to manage and
did it perfectly fine.
Transactions.
Now, that doesn't mean we don't need to build layer 2. People are going to build layer 2, so they're working on that. I'm an investor in a business called Strike that literally can send a Bitcoin from the United States anywhere in the world in a split second, less than 1 second, completely for free. And they're using something called Lightning Network.
Gotcha.
And so all of a sudden, what happens is they can literally send value around the world faster and cheaper than Visa, MasterCard, Square, all these other guys.
I love all this. And again, this is not got you journalism.
No, of course.
I'm just trying to understand. The way I understand things is I ask the things that make me insecure about it, and then you just kind of fill those holes. So that
we're now, you had 60,000 in your head, you're at like 80,000.
Oh, I'm all in, dude.
Okay,
I'm all in.
Oh, so you have $1 million there by the end of this. Let's go.
You know, who knows? You know what I mean? Thanks, Netflix. Appreciate you.
Netflix should actually pay you in Bitcoin. We'll talk about that later. Go ahead.
Dude, like that basketball player.
Russell Okung,
Well, he's a football player, but yeah.
I thought Spencer Dinwiddie.
Spencer
He might have done the
Dinwiddie,
same.
he's been super into it. I don't think he got paid in Bitcoin.
Oh, no, maybe he did NFTs or something like that.
He did
There's
a bond.
couple
Yeah.
What was that?
A bond.
He did a bond.
He basically said like, yo, do you want part of my contract? Like, give me money up front, and then over time you can earn more.
Gotcha.
Russell Okong's got like a $13 million
And now it's double
salary.
or something like that. Okay. All right. So now
my brother just went viral tweeting about it, so we should
really?
give him a shout out. Yeah. Joe
what's your
Pompliano.
brother's name?
Joe Pompliano.
Oh, it was your brother that tweeted that.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, like we give him a shout out, then he thinks I'm a good brother. So
Joe, how's
my
it feel
God.
to be number 2?
he's actually number 4 because there's
Fucking
other brothers.
Ethereum of the Pompliano family.
Oh, chain link ass.
Is Andrew Schulz giving us crypto jokes? Okay.
Okay. Well, another question I have about Bitcoin, right? Is there anything proprietary about Bitcoin?
Well, it's open source software and technology.
So Bitcoin essentially, not only can it not be hacked and all these things, but it is branding, right?
Yeah, of course.
Arguably first to market. You got the Winklevoss twins behind it. Everybody's talking about it. It's very exciting. But outside of its security, there's nothing that is
You could take the code base and create
Andrew Coin.
Akaash
Coin.
immediately. And by the way, if you do it, nobody's going to fucking buy it, right? Because it doesn't have the story. It doesn't have the market adoption. It doesn't have the hash power and mining behind it. And it doesn't have the mind share. So if you go back to a currency, we joke and we're like, oh, the US dollar is backed by the US government, blah, 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 all this stuff, the military. Sure. But ultimately, it's just a belief system.
Yes, 100%.
The only reason why that piece of paper has money and that piece of paper somewhere over there doesn't
Rap video.
is because we all agree that that has money, or that has value.
Yep.
The second we all stop believing that it has value, the game's over.
Yes.
And then we just move on to the next thing.
100%. I'm just trying to understand what
So it's
I
just
would
open,
want to.
it's just open source code. You could copy it, but that's not going to.
Here's the tricky
I
thing for
think
me.
what he's asking-
Well, no. This is the tricky thing for me is I believe in blockchain. If I could invest in blockchain, I would. But to me, it seems like investing in blockchain is like investing in algebra. Like it's just math. You can't really invest in math. Math just is. So because I know that this technology is going to change not only the financial market, maybe the verification of all goods in general, I think people are jumping at the idea of a verified society, right? Especially in something that is as manipulatable as a currency is. So they're like, okay, Bitcoin's the one, or Ethereum's the one, or Litecoin's the one. Okay, let's do it. This works for me because it's money and I understand what money is. Okay, I'll get in. But to me, I'm going, the tech behind it is the real thing I'd like to put money in, but there's no company that owns the tech, right? It's open sourced or whatever you said. So is the closest thing that I can do to invest in Bitcoin?
So again, it's a decentralized network, meaning
How much of what I said made sense and how much of it was dumb?
like 80%.
Dude, I Alex Jones it. I'll take 80 all day. B minus. Let's go.
All right. So if I want to own Google's search algorithm, I buy Google stock, right? If I want to own Facebook's social network, I buy Facebook stock. If I want to own the AWS product, I buy Amazon stock. I want to own Bitcoin, the payment system. What do? I can't, there's no stock to buy. Nobody owns it.
So that's my point.
So you can do one of two things. Either you can go plug a machine in and go contribute to the network, contribute computing power, and you will get paid some percentage
Buy
of the revenue.
fucking coin.
Or you buy the coin. And there's a really interesting concept. My buddy Jonathan Geller just started talking about this. He's like, Bitcoiners may be holding some Bitcoin for themselves and some they're holding for the network. Because 60% of Bitcoin has not moved. They have not been bought or sold in the last 12 months. So there's 18.6 million Bitcoin in circulation. 60% haven't moved. That includes hundreds of percent of appreciation. That includes one single day in March 2020 where it dropped 50% in a day.
Yeah.
These people have ironclad hands. They're not selling.
It's
I
a
don't
long
care
play.
what you do. They believe. They are strong hodlers.
Yeah.
And so when you do that,
What did you call them?
hodlers.
Oh, dude, that's my new name for you, Dove. You fucking hodler.
Listen,
Yo, this is
there's no
great.
community in the world, but on the internet that believes in something as strong as Bitcoiners believe in this. And that is the most defendable thing.
Have you heard of QAnon?
QAnon?
Yeah.
Listen, they don't stand a chance against Bitcoiners. I promise you.
You were not getting devalued at
They still think Trump is president. Dude.
Well, listen, you can't fix stupid, but
Okay, I'm with you.
please do not come after me.
I like the consumer
gonna-
confidence. I'm with you.
So the whole idea is that belief system around 21 million and the fact that they won't sell at any price.
Yep.
Now this is why you're seeing all the price appreciation, because now banks are showing up. Now corporations are showing
Yeah,
up.
it's great.
And they're like, yo, Andrew, sell me the Bitcoin that you don't have, right? And you're like, well, I only have one. And you're like, okay, well, when it was $10,000, I'll buy it for $12,000. No, I'm not selling. I'll buy it for $15,000. No, I'm not selling. I'll buy it for $20,000. I'm not selling. 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60. The banks are still showing up saying, sell it to me for 60. And literally Bitcoiners are throwing the middle finger up and saying, I'm not selling. And so when you have a fixed supply asset and demand is increasing, the US dollar price continues to go up. But the US dollar price doesn't actually matter at the end of the day, because most Bitcoiners aren't thinking of this as, I took dollars, I bought Bitcoin, I'm going to wait for it to go up a bunch in dollar terms, and I'm going to go back into dollars. It's not a trade.
They're playing long like Bitcoin is going to be the future of currency. They don't even care about the US dollar.
Bitcoin is going to be the global reserve currency. Right. And the reason why it's going to be the global reserve currency is because every human around the world, 7.6 billion people, or whatever we're at now, is going to choose sound money over unsound money. Gold was the analog application of sound money. The concept, nobody owns it, nobody controls it, nobody can create more of it, in a physical form was gold. Bitcoin is the digital application of this. And so why would I use that, which over the last year, literally some dudes, mostly white men, went into a room and they just said, you know what, we're going to create more. I didn't get a vote. Did you guys get a vote? No, we didn't have any say in this. And so they did it in a way, I don't know what data they looked at.
I think he just made money racist. Did you see what he just did right there? He's like, mostly white men. I think you just got all the black chicks like down with the patriarchy.
Yeah, it was woke of him. Otherwise, you
yeah, that was smart. That was. Is that what you were trying to say? Some hodlers went in the room and started hodling? Jesus, Pompliano. Joe, get your brother. Joe, get over here.
So what essentially happens is you have currencies that are being manipulated.
Yeah.
But we don't have a say. And again, 45% of Americans are getting crushed by this, and the wealth inequality gap's getting worse and worse. Yeah. Well, guess what? Now you have a exit strategy. And the exit strategy is literally you take the unsound money, the money that is literally so worthless that they are giving it away for free to people, and you convert it into the sound money, and you just simply hold the sound money. And the purchasing power of Bitcoin continues to grow while the purchasing power of dollar continues to crash.
And I just can't fathom that the United States government is not in some way protecting themselves.
Second largest holder of Bitcoin is the United States government. Somebody told me that, so I'm going to trust it.
Is that true? Who told you that?
Brian. Shouts to Brian.
Is that true?
I don't know who Brian is.
He's a chef.
He's a chef?
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to verify, but you might want to Google it.
Do you know anything about that? Is that true?
So I don't know what they've sold and what they haven't.
That would make me incredibly comfortable. I would double my deposit.
They have absolutely confiscated Bitcoin from people before, right?
Okay.
So Silk Road a bunch of times. I haven't done the math in terms of what they confiscated and what they auctioned off. In some cases, they've literally taken Bitcoin from people and then they've gone ahead and auctioned it off.
That's a great move.
This is a brilliant long-term strategy. You let all the people that are selling human beings, selling drugs, selling guns in Bitcoin around the world, let them use Bitcoin as the currency. Let it build to a premium.
But nobody's doing that.
What do you mean?
They're all using dollars.
But I thought Bitcoin is the best way to get around the system now.
Early on, I think it was. I think I saw one of your interviews where you said there's less fraudulent activity with Bitcoin than dollars by far.
Yeah, there's more dollars that are laundered every year. Just money laundering. $2 trillion are laundered every year. The Bitcoin market cap, like all Bitcoin in circulation, is only $1 trillion. There's literally more illegal use of the dollar than the entire size of the Bitcoin market today.
Yeah, but there's way more dollars than there are Bitcoins. So
of course, but even on a percentage basis.
Yeah. It's like 0.4% of Bitcoin.
0.4% of all Bitcoin transactions are illegal. It's like 2% of US dollar transactions.
Okay.
And the Bitcoin illicit transactions are going down because remember, all of the transactions are written on a public ledger. So like if you
there's fucking proof.
So yeah, if you send him Bitcoin and then they're like, yo, what'd you do? Like what happened? Like, oh, you were like a scumbag terrorist? They're like, idiots. Like you literally sent them the money. Like here's the transaction.
Yeah.
So like,
but they're not writing details on the transaction. Like you could have bought lollipops with Bitcoin.
Yeah, but they obviously figure out like hey, the same guy who sent this Bitcoin also sent it over here and bought that AK-47.
Right. Gotcha. Okay, so there's a little bit of proof, and that scares the people that are doing illegal activity.
Well, people didn't know that at first. They thought it was, nobody's going to be able to track me. And then the government kept showing up and like arresting all of them. And then they're like, oh, hey, tell your friends, like, don't use this.
Is there any proof that the IMF isn't in control of this, that the IMF isn't part of the 51% or the 51%? The IMF isn't doing all the mining? Like, where is the proof that they're not in
Here's
control?
what I think is going to happen, right?
Motherfuckers die over money, bro. Like you said, the United States government will kill 1 million brown people if one brown guy says we're going to sell oil in euros. We're willing to throw the entirety of the United States military force to crush countries that go against the US dollar as the currency of the world. And they're just letting Bitcoin go all willy-nilly. I can't buy that.
So you just highlighted Bitcoin's core strength. Great. You want to shut down Bitcoin. What do? Who do you arrest? What computer do you shut
There's
down?
1 million Bitcoin miners or whatever.
Even if you go to every country in the world and you say, yo, let's all work together, which never will happen. But if you say, well, let's all work together and we're going to shut down every single computer running this, and I'm just sitting in my closet and I plug the computer in and I run the software, Bitcoin's still alive. You cannot kill the network. There's been congressmen who have literally gone in and on the Congress floor said, we cannot kill this, so we should not even try. And so what ends up happening is, and there's people inside the government now, reports are coming out where people have been on calls behind closed doors. Treasury Secretary and others have said they know this is inevitable. They're just holding on for as long as they can. And so what I personally believe they should do, and I think that any country in the world that wants to be a leader in the space, they should embrace it. Because here's what happens is Bitcoin is ultimately just an open, decentralized protocol. Mm-hmm. The internet is an open, decentralized protocol. And so what happens to the countries that decided not to participate in the fucking internet? It's like North Korea.
Yeah.
Like didn't work out so hot for the citizens.
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't worked out so hot for us. I wouldn't argue that the internet is doing great for America. I mean, it always tore us in half the last election, right?
Well, we won't go there.
I'm just saying.
The open, decentralized protocols are out there. People are going to adopt it. So even though Pakistan, Nigeria, et cetera, ban it, people can still access it even if their government doesn't want them to.
Right.
And so if anyone is going to benefit from this, the United States should say, we are going to benefit more than anybody
I like
else.
that strategy.
Let's go buy Bitcoin. Let's actually start to use this as a payment rail. Let's figure out how to incorporate this into all these various things that we do. And because whoever the first country is that does it, game over, game, set, match, they win. They will be the most economically prosperous country in the world.
Unless it's hackable. And if it is hackable and that country goes all in on Bitcoin, they're the country that gets fucked the most. You have to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that it's not hackable.
And that's what I was also going to say.
If you
said
What?
It has been hacked.
Bitcoin's never been hacked.
Well, the other coins have been hacked.
that's his
plenty
point.
of blockchains have.
So I assume his point about Bitcoin being different than other cryptos.
Hold on, I want to hear this
exactly.
out. What is it?
No, well, my thing is, it can be stopped because couldn't all the countries just come together and be like, mining is illegal. If you get caught mining, you're penalized and charged or get thrown into jail.
So they've done that in Pakistan and Nigeria, and mining went up.
In those countries?
In those countries, yeah. And to the point, Pakistan's...
Could you easily trace where somebody's mining from?
So in Venezuela, here's what the crazy thing is. In Venezuela, they said mining's illegal, right? And what they would do is, governments aren't idiots, right? They said it takes a ton of power. So we're just going to look at the power bills. And if your power bill spikes,
we know that you're mining.
You're not fucking playing Xbox, right? So like we're going to come to your house and be like, yo, give us the miner. And then what did they do when they took the miners? The government went and plugged them in, right? Because they get paid for mining. So it's a financial incentive for now the government just confiscated your equipment and then they just went and used it themselves. So what ends up happening is the financial incentive is too strong, right? Like in this crazy way, like it takes years literally for me to wrap my head around this. Yeah. The financial incentive is too strong. So in Pakistan, even crazier was they said, yo, this is illegal. You can't mine, yada, yada, whatever. One of the 4 provinces or whatever in Pakistan all of a sudden was like, yo, why don't we do this? And then the province went against the national law and they started mining themselves. In Iran, what they do, Iran, Venezuela, all these places, they have sanctions. The U.S. government runs around the world and they say, we have 2 things. We're going to drop bombs, kill people, do all this stuff. And we're going to sanction you. We're going to cut you off from the global financial system. We have the global reserve currency. Screw you. Mm-hmm. Well, now all these countries are like, wait a second. Like Venezuela's like, yo, nobody can shut this shit down. And we don't need permission from anybody. We just plug some machines in and then we get currency. In Iran, what'd they do? They literally said to people, hey, we'll give you a license and you could go and you can mine Bitcoin. And then a couple of months later, they were like, oh, by the way, new rule, you have to sell us all your Bitcoin. Right? We're going to give you our local currency. We're going to give it to you. And so what ends up happening is, again, it's just a game theory. And people hate thinking this way because it's so counterintuitive to what like we're used to in the world. It's just like, the government always wins. The banks always win, right? Like that's our mindset. But the financial incentive here is way too strong. And so whether you're a nefarious country, right, in terms of North Korea or some of these guys, or you're a legitimate country, the financial incentive is the exact same. And so I actually think what's happening in like Kentucky right now is fascinating. Kentucky just started to say, yo, you know what? If you're going to mine Bitcoin, we're going to give you tax breaks. We're literally going to make it easier for you to mine here because we want this infrastructure to be built out here. It's going to bring jobs. It's going to bring all this investment into our local economy. And we'll actually not tax you as much on it as we would have now that this new law is passed. And so what you start to see is like, again, it's just like this big game theory of incentives.
How can the state profit off on that?
Well, if more people get jobs, right, there's still income tax. There's like all these things that they can basically benefit from as there's more economic activity in their country or in their economy or their state. But what they're not going to do is they're not going to tax you maybe as much at the entity level on, let's say, buying the electricity or, whatever.
Okay. There are all these other coins that exist, right?
All right.
Ethereum being the second most popular one. And Ethereum is having a little moment right now because Ethereum... Okay, if we're looking at Bitcoin like a ledger that is, I guess, decentralized or anybody can use the ledger, open source ledger. Ethereum, my understanding, is kind of like an open source computer in that
that's how they describe it.
Yeah, it's in the apps can be added to it and then you can find ways to monetize those apps. This is what people are doing with NFTs. So is Ethereum, I have twofold question. One, what the fuck is an NFT? But two, is Ethereum a next level cryptocurrency? Is it taking it beyond what this store of value, which is Bitcoin? And is Bitcoin going to have to play catch up to Ethereum?
No.
Okay, so then is Ethereum, what is an NFT? Let's start there.
Well, hold on. Let's talk Ethereum first. So there's a lot of different types of assets. There's really four main assets. There's stocks, there's bonds, there's currencies, there's commodities, right?
Right.
Bitcoin is going after currency, right? It wants to be store of value, medium of exchange. We talked about all this. Ethereum isn't necessarily trying to be a currency, right? What they basically are saying is something completely different. They're saying, look, we're going to like rebuild the internet, right? We're going to build this like world computer and we're going to be decentralized. We're going to have something called smart contracts, which is really just automation, right? Yeah. And we're going to build this and anyone in the world can come here. They can build it. It'll be decentralized. It'll be amazing, utopia vision. What ends up happening is if you build the internet's not really that valuable, the traditional internet, unless there's companies, products, and applications built on top of it, right? So if I just said to you, hey, here's the internet, you could use it, but you didn't have Google, like the internet might not be as valuable, or there wasn't Facebook or Twitter or whatever. So Ethereum was built. Now people are going in and they're trying to build all this stuff on top of it. Everything from decentralized financial applications to this NFT stuff to all kinds of stuff. And so what ends up happening and where there's tons and tons of controversy and debate is ultimately two key things. One is the Bitcoin community believes security, number one most important thing, proof of work. If you don't have that, you're screwed. And the Bitcoin community...
Question about that. By having more access to, or like openings to the blockchain through Ethereum's, I guess, way of working, do you create more liability for hacking?
We're going to get super in the weeds. Basically, Ethereum launched a couple of years ago with a very similar way of doing security compared to Bitcoin.
Yep.
The big change was, in a very generalized manner, was the smart contracts. Basically, this ability to write on top of it in a much easier way. So Vitalik Buterin and a couple of these other folks, basically, they wanted to do it on Bitcoin. They felt like they couldn't, so they went and created this new thing.
Yep.
They are now switching from a proof of work, which is all the computers, to something called proof of stake. This is like level 401 in the college course, but basically, rather than use the computers, you have a economic position, you stake it. You basically say, I'm going to put this here, and because of that, I'm not going to be a nefarious actor, because if I'm a nefarious actor, then I will lose the value, right? That my economic stake will go down. And so therefore, my vote should count I'm not expending energy. I'm not expending the computing power. I'm, though, economically incentivized. You can imagine there's a bunch of smart people that get in a room and it's like, forget intellectual Olympics. It's like intellectual gladiator type stuff in the arena where they're all going nuts. We will see. I always say, like, my opinion doesn't matter. Your opinion doesn't matter. The market will decide.
Yeah.
There is two schools of thought. One is that this Ethereum kind of world computer and the gazillion of copycats that have come along from it are going to end up being successful. So they'll have a decentralized thing. You'll build applications on top of it. We'll go. The other school of thought is that the Bitcoin network, which optimized for security first, eventually will add layer 2, layer 3, et cetera, and you'll have all of that composability, smart contracts, et cetera. A lot of that is there today. It's also there around Ethereum. And so what's going to be very interesting to watch play out is how important is security? How important is true decentralization, right? And there's questions on some of this other stuff. And what I think ends up happening is, like, some of this gets religious, like kind of tribal wars. Like it's almost like people have like sports teams, you know, go Bitcoin, fuck Ethereum type stuff. And
if I was 95% invested in one of the coins like yourself, I would definitely be rooting for it.
Well, I'm 100%.
You're 100%. You
Yeah,
don't
I
have any cash?
else. Huh? No. Like, I have 100% Bitcoin, nothing else.
Oh, I meant like
Coin
your
wise.
wealth.
Coin wise.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. 96%.
96%. Okay.
So, like, some people basically split. Some people add all this other stuff. But what you find is, like, the further you get from Bitcoin, the more people are speculators. So what are they doing? They're basically saying, like, oh, look at this, like, early stage technology product, right? I can't go invest in a private technology company. So I'm going to instead buy this coin that's like 2 cents, and I think it's going to go to 4 cents. I'm going to double my money.
Yeah.
Then I think it's going to go to 10 cents, 20 cents, right? And sometimes they do.
Yeah.
But that's not really the same thing as what Bitcoin's doing, right? Like, you're gambling, which, by the way, you do in the stock market too, but it's just like that's what you're doing. You're not doing what Bitcoin's doing.
That's what it feels like right now. The Coinbase account is basically the stock market. Like, I look at that the way I look at the stock app on Apple. It's just a bunch of different coins you invest in, and then it goes up or down. And you think at the end of the day, there will likely just be one, which is Bitcoin, like Highlander, like there can only be one.
I think that, and I caveat all this with, like, nobody actually knows what's going to happen. Like, I can't see into the future, right? Yeah. But the way that I do think things will play out is Bitcoin is the king. Bitcoin will be the digital currency. Other countries will go around the world and they'll create these digital currencies, digital dollars, all this stuff. There will be private corporations that try to do the same thing. You'll get no competition at the technology layer. They'll all be digital. The competition will be at the monetary policy layer. All fiat currencies have the exact same monetary policy. It's inflationary, right? There's unlimited supply. Bitcoin is digital sound money. So all of the capital and value will flow to Bitcoin from a currency perspective. When it comes to all of the other stuff outside of currency, it's a freaking wild, wild west. I mean, I literally see people who start something and next thing you know, it's worth, billions of dollars from these market caps. People are creating tokens. It's like, just put a .com, all of a sudden you got a token. Next thing you know, it like goes up in value and stuff. And so what I think is going to be very interesting to watch is two things. One, where do the developers go? If the developers all go to Ethereum and stay there, then there's going to be a bunch of economic activity that happens there, right? Because naturally that's where everything's going to get built, all the innovation, experimentation, whatever. If all of the developers go to Bitcoin over time, then there'll be economic innovation and all that kind of stuff there. What I think people have to be very, very careful about, though, is as this progresses, you have to understand, like, what are you trying to accomplish, right? So there's a lot of people, you mentioned like Coinbase looks like the stock market. There's plenty of people who look at crypto and they're just like, yo, the use case is not store of value, medium of exchange, it's speculation. And so if you want to speculate, sure, you can speculate in the stock market, in crypto, at the casino, like you can do all that stuff.
Right.
But you're not doing what most people would consider your saving in what is going to become the next global reserve currency, right? You're just literally putting stuff on black and whatever happens, happens.
Yes.
By the way, if you find that entertaining or you think you're going to make money, knock yourself out. Like, your free choice, go do whatever you want. But I think that the Bitcoiner position is what Bitcoin is going after is the largest opportunity, right? We're basically trying to disrupt central banks. We're trying to disrupt global reserve currency, et cetera. And so we're talking about basically the global money supply right now is like 80, 90 trillion. If Bitcoin is successful, it's likely to be like 150 to $200 trillion in size, which means it'll literally steal economic value back from other store of wealth assets. So the gold market cap's actually been going down.
Yeah.
because as Bitcoin's going up, people are literally selling their gold to go buy Bitcoin. What happens if real estate, art, like all these other store value assets start to contract and it flows into Bitcoin? Bitcoin's price goes up.
Because those other store value assets are all based in verification, right? Like a piece of art. There's this documentary I just watched called Made You Look on Netflix. Have you seen it?
No, I have not.
It's really interesting.
Made You Look?
Made You Look. They basically just forged $80 million worth of art and sold them through like one of the most respected galleries in all of New York, the Noodler Gallery, whatever like that.
It's like Sour Grapes or whatever, the wine movie where they make the fake wine bottles.
And people lose their shit over it.
Yeah, well, the guy he made millions of dollars.
Exactly.
Fake, yeah.
So, but it just proves to me, I'm watching this and I'm going, oh, this is why Bitcoin is the future, or this is why blockchain is the future, right? Is because these people are dying to get their hands on this piece of wealth that's just going to increase in value and is verifiable, real, 100%, non-fungible, if you will. That's the term that NFTs they're using all the time. So I see this as proof of concept for storing wealth in the future. Explain to me what the fuck NFTs are, why this artist can sell them for $69 million. Beeple, I think, sold for $69 million. A buddy of ours, Logan Paul, put out these fucking Pokemon cards of himself. He made a few $1 million. What is happening? What is an NFT? What is happening? And how long does this NFT bubble exist?
So fungibility, again, just some fucking fancy world somebody made up, right?
Yeah.
But basically fungibility means if I take that $100 and I put it in a pile with 10 other $100 bills and we mix them all up and I just grab $100 back, it doesn't matter if I got the one I put in or I got, a different one. I got still $100. I can use it at the store, whatever. If I have art though, and I have a Picasso and I put it in a pile with 3 fake Picassos and we mix them all up and I go to grab a Picasso, if I don't grab the original, I'm screwed. Mm-hmm. So when the dollars all can get mixed up, I can take whatever back. That's called something that's fungible. It doesn't matter which one you have. As long as you have a $100 bill, you got a $100 bill as long as it's real, right? With the art, you need something that's non-fungible, meaning if you don't have the original, then you got a fraud and it's not. It doesn't have any of its value. So what ends up happening with Bitcoin is fungible, right? If I have a Bitcoin and you have a Bitcoin and we basically send them back and forth a bunch of times and we don't know, do I have my original one or your original one? Doesn't matter. I got a Bitcoin, you got a Bitcoin, we're good. What people started to realize was, wait a second, a blockchain, a key piece to it is, remember when we talked about the blocks of transactions?
Yeah.
It's immutable. All that means is no one can change it. So once it gets stamped on the blockchain, nobody can change it.
Yeah.
So you can imagine all kinds of crazy stuff. So early on, somebody on Ethereum said, yo, in China, they don't want to let me say something. You know what? I'm going to write it to the blockchain because the Chinese government can't take it down. Oh, okay. That's interesting, right? So wait a minute, you mean you can't censor an immutable thing? So that was a pretty aggressive use of it. People started to say, well, where else is non-fungibility important? So anything that's scarce. Go back to that piece of music. If you can copy music over and over and over again, then basically there's no scarcity to it, right? Art, the whole value of art is scarcity. Yep. So you can think of it 2 ways, and I forget who wrote this, so I apologize, I'm not going to give them credit for it, but basically you can think of it like a serial number. So if I said to you, the example that I was reading about is somebody said, think of it like the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah.
Eiffel Tower 001 is the real valuable one. Yeah. But every copy, no matter how big it is, how small it is, where it is, if it's in Vegas, if it's Eiffel Tower number 47036,
it could be
no
made
value.
The exact same way.
Exactly, no value.
If it's not in Paris,
if it's not
no value.
Serial number 1,
yes,
no value. So what ends up happening is in a digital world, this shit's hard. It's hard to rebuild the Eiffel Tower. It's hard to put it in a different place. And people are like, oh, that's the original, right? It's a physical world. In the digital world, it's much easier to do this stuff. So when you basically stamp it onto a blockchain and you say, this is serial number 1 of this item, everyone can see it. And then everyone can see who's owned it. So let's say you create a piece of art and then you send it here.
Yeah.
And now the next person wants to come buy it. They can come see, did Andrew create this or not? Who else owned it? When did they own it? What did they pay for it? All this stuff.
Here's my question about that, especially with art. With a piece of art, right? Maybe now with 3D printing or something like that, it's possible. But up until maybe the last decade, it was impossible to recreate a piece of art in the exact same way, especially if it was like an oil painting, right? There's certain 3D textures to oil. So even if you were an amazing forger and you recreated some Van Gogh, it's not going to be exactly the same. Maybe the colors are similar, but it's not the exact same, right?
Yep.
So you know what's different. With a piece of digital art, a simple screenshot could recreate the exact same image, why is it that people care about having the original thing when
It's not the original.
No. Why do they care about having the original one when the copy is exactly the same?
Because the people aren't buying art because of what it looks like. They're buying the story.
Yeah, that's what I have to wrap my head around.
They're buying the value,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
If I paint the same thing as Van Gogh, it's not because of what it looks like.
You're right.
They're buying Van Gogh. They're buying the story.
So what you said about the Eiffel Tower kind of made it click for me, because you could recreate the Eiffel Tower and it has negative value. You're like, what do I do with this? This is a waste of space. Like, I
Yeah, it
don't
takes
know
up
where to
too
put
much
this.
room in the garage.
It's too much, yeah. So, but the fact that there's this story built around the Eiffel Tower in Paris, you're purchasing that story. I get that, right?
So when you
But a brand new piece of art that just came out has no story besides you, maybe the artist.
So I'll explain. You use this artist I've partnered with called Rakoti, right? So Rakoti basically said, all right, I'm going to create art. And what I'm going to do is I want to democratize access to this. So think of like Christie's or Sotheby's or whoever says, yo, if you're rich, you can come and you can buy this.
Auction houses to anybody who's listening.
Super expensive art, right? And it's kind of gated. You got to verify yourself, got to do all this stuff. Rakoti said, all right, I'm going to create this really dope art. I've got 12 pieces.
Yeah.
I'm going to sell it on the internet. Anyone with the internet connection anywhere in the world can now come in and can buy this.
Yeah.
And this artist said, I'm going to sell it for 0.01 ETH, right? Which is basically like $18, $19 at the time. And they sold this direct, sold out in 26 seconds.
ETH is short for Ethereum.
Yep.
Blah, blah. Yep.
And so basically they promoted it on Twitter, blah, blah, whatever, right? All this stuff. Then they say, you know what? We have 3 other pieces and we're going to auction them. So just like these auction houses do, we're just going to auction them to the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And when they auctioned it, it was, here's the piece. Anyone in the world over the next 24, 12 hours, whatever it was, can come in and let the market decide what it's worth. Sold the first one for 40,000, the next one for 70, the next one for like 40,000 again. And the reason why that's important is what those people are buying is that Rakoti created it. You can see in the transaction history that Rakoti's the one who minted this onto the blockchain. And then from there, what happens is you can literally not only see every single transaction, but also in some of these platforms, you can see every bid. So I could see that you actually bid 100K and then you got scared and you took away the bid. That I could see that he bid $2 like a cheapskate, right?
Exactly. All this is accurate.
And then he basically was like, nah, you know what? Like, I don't want this, right? So you can see all this history. What it does is it provides transparency. And that's ultimately what's happening around the world, whether it's blockchain, crypto, Bitcoin stuff, or it's just frankly society in general, is people are calling bullshit on the world. They're saying, I don't believe you. I don't believe the politicians. I don't believe the central bank. I don't believe the media. I don't believe anybody.
But I believe blockchain.
Verify it. Prove it to me. If you prove it to me, then I'll trust it.
So do you think on some level, crypto is a reaction to a lack of trust in everything? Do you think people are seeking, you know how like girls with daddy issues, like, right? Like they might seek out a certain type of dude, right? Like, do we have daddy issues with the government, with politicians, do we have daddy issues with the powers that be, the elites, and we're seeking something that is out of their control to find comfort in?
The world historically has been a narrative-driven value chain. What I mean by that is gold. The reason why gold is valuable is because somebody told you it was. You can't tell me.
I give a little pushback on that.
All right, go ahead. Well, you can put a lot of pushback. It's your show.
Yeah, fair enough. But you're the expert. But like, have you ever held a nugget of gold?
Yeah.
It's
I panned for it one time in Walnut Creek in North Carolina. It was fucking amazing.
Okay, now
I think it was fool's gold though. Go ahead.
that's the thing. You might have some fake shit. But if you hold like this much gold, right? It was the weirdest thing I've ever experienced. I was doing some like news show, and one of those guys that were on the gold rush things, he was there, and he just had a nugget, like a raw nugget, and he handed it to me, and it was almost alien. The weight for size was the most peculiar thing I've ever held. I've never held anything like that in my entire life. So I could see how some like very primitive human being picked up this substance, and for whatever reason, it was so fucking dense and weird
And shiny.
and shiny and odd that you would almost feel like it was, I don't know, from outer space or something. So I can see why we would ascribe value to it.
Yeah, so it's a psychological concept.
Exactly. And the same thing I imagine is at play here with Bitcoin, but it's playing into something else. It's not going, this is, I honestly think it's the opposite of gold in a way. I think this, I don't know what the fuck it is. Bitcoin, I do. There's proof of every single thing about it. So I find
can
security.
verify it.
It's the fucking San Antonio Spurs. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, this is good fundamental basketball.
Yeah.
I know what I can expect from it. Whereas gold was this like otherworldly substance that we put all this value on. But at the end of the day, what was it worth?
The whole idea of a narrative driven value chain is when you pick it up, it's shiny, right? Like humans are stupid at the end of the day.
Yes.
I'm stupid, you're stupid, like we're all stupid, right? And so we pick up this shiny thing, we're like, oh shit, this thing must be valuable because it's shiny, right? And so what you end up seeing is that the world told us it's scarce. The world told us it had value. And so when somebody says, okay, well, how much gold is there? We have a pretty good guess, but like nobody knows for sure.
Yeah.
When the government says, hey, the dollar, we say, well, how many are there? Well, here's our best guess, right? Yeah. Nobody knows how much is created or taken away every day, all this stuff, right? And so everything in our life is a narrative. The media, right? Yeah. If you look at all the institutions, like it's all narrative driven. And so what now has happened with digital technology is we say the narratives don't matter in terms of I'm not going to simply just blindly believe the narrative, right? Narratives around assets will always matter because that's investor psychology. But the narrative is an inferior way to prove value or to drive value than verifying.
Than trust.
And so it's not even trust.
Truth.
It's because it's truth. Exactly. Yeah. And so I think that the whole thing that ends up becoming really interesting is what if I could tell you that every single time, right? Look at media. Look what you're doing. If you got interviewed by the mainstream media every day and they wrote articles about you, you'd be going nuts. You'd be like, that's not what I said, right? Or they twisted my words, or I didn't know they were going to write this, or whatever the complaint is, even if it was a positive piece, right? Now you just speak into that microphone and people hear exactly what you have to say.
Yeah.
And so it's going to the source. It's verifying. I don't care what somebody else says from this interview. What did he say in the interview?
We live in the age of verification, and blockchain technology is the confirmation of that.
The world is going to run on open, decentralized protocols that allow for complete verification of truth.
Of everything. Now, I believe in that entirely, 100%. I support that. Here's my question. What else is affected by it? Like, what industry gets destroyed? Do we need the stock market anymore? Do we need finance dudes? Like, I mean that sincerely. Like, are their jobs fucking done once we can verify every single trade and do it ourselves?
Go back in time, right before telephone.
One more thing. Let me ask. What if we can add a blockchain to the profits of a company? There's no more Enron. There's no more, right? Like, I'm trying to think what the 10, 20 year effects of this are, and you might get like a realistic look at all these different companies. I don't even think you need stockbrokers anymore.
So before we go to the future, let's go to the past.
Okay.
Go before phones, computers, cars, any of this shit. There was finance, companies, all this stuff. There are some companies that are still around today. If you go back and you look at, JP Morgan was a dude and he was really rich and now his company still persists. Dude, Goldman Sachs has been around for a long time, all this stuff, right? So some companies will navigate the invention of technology or innovation, right? So new technology comes along, they embrace it, they figure out how to use it, and they not only survive, they thrive in the new world. Other companies that may be their competitors get completely disrupted. So Sears is a great example. Internet comes along, like, see ya, right? They just got completely blindsided. And so it's not that everything goes away and it's this like super binary world. There's actually like this gray area. But what's going to happen is the people who embrace the technology will thrive. So the bankers who say, yo, I'm just going to figure out like what's my role in this new world, because by the way, out of the 10 services I offered, 8 of them now are obsolete. These other 2 I'm going to double down on, and now there's the creation of 2 more. So ultimately what ends up happening is think of a company. It's just the flow of resources and the organization of resources.
Pomp. I went on, sorry to interrupt. I went on Joe Rogan's podcast a few years ago. And I feel like we're having the conversation about the financial markets that I had with him about television and stand-up, where I was like, it's over. Like, TV's dead. Like, there is no more TV. And I leaned all the way into social media. I leaned into streaming. I leaned into YouTube, obviously Instagram. And I was, not only was I sure it was going to win, I couldn't fathom how anybody could think anything else could win. I couldn't fathom.
Bitcoin is YouTube.
Exactly. Bitcoin is YouTube. It's just a more efficient way of getting content to people. This is a more efficient way of making these transactions. Maybe not more efficient in terms of every day, but whatever. We'll work towards that, right? So I'm sitting here with you, and I'm still having trouble getting all on board, but I do recognize maybe what people might have felt like in that instance. So this is the undeniable future. Which form it takes, we're not sure. Your hedge is on Bitcoin, right? It could be Bitcoin, it could be Ethereum, it could be some other one that blows them all out of the fucking water. But without a doubt, markets are going to change because of this new technology.
It's a foregone conclusion because ultimately where we're headed is an automated world. So here's the best way. Like when people say to me like, yo, forget all the details, all this stuff, like at a high level, just what the fuck is going on? The world is going to be more automated in the future than it is today. The problem is that there's a mismatch of automation technology and assets, right? So most assets historically, up until the 70s or 80s, were all analog. Physical stock certificates, physical bonds,
see the guys
physical home deed, all this shit, right? And then eventually they became what is today an electronic QSIP. So people are like, yo, maybe we shouldn't use paper. Maybe we should have a centralized database with this fucking string of letters and numbers. And that QSIP, we're going to all trade around like geniuses around the world. And that is going to represent that asset. Now what's happening is we're moving from the electronic QSIPs to these digital assets. But the reason why the digital assets are so important is because if I write some sort of technology to automate, let's say I want to do automated, what they call on-chain cash flow. So when I get paid, why does the corporation hold the money for 2 weeks and then pay people on the 1st and 15th? Why don't we just pay people at the end of every day? It would solve so much economic pain in this world, right? Yeah. And so if all of a sudden we could do that and we had the technology to do it, why don't we do it? Well, now the technology is here. But the difference was even if the company had the desire.
Convenient, right? Back in the day to pay every single.
They just didn't have the technology.
Right.
So if I wanted to pay you every day, I would literally have to run payroll. Then I have to go through the banks. The banks would be like, oh, you came in at 5:05. We're fucking closed. Come back tomorrow. All this bullshit,
I
right?
could push one button and everybody on my staff gets paid. Dan.
Yes. Even better is you could pay them every hour. You just it's automated. So it just flows.
Push a button. It just takes care of itself.
It just flows.
You're out of it.
So the whole idea though is the electronic QSIP asset can't go through that automated technology. It's like trying to take a cassette tape player and put it into a CD player.
Yeah.
The cassette tape and the CD player don't fuck with each other.
Everybody listening, that's how we used to listen to music, with cassette tapes and CDs. Pomp just showed his age, and it makes me feel amazing. Keep going.
Right? And guess what? The CD-ROM doesn't go into the MP3 player. Right? So the same thing here is you got to upgrade the assets. And so now all of a sudden when you get digital assets, now digital assets can actually be used by all these automated technologies. So the world we're going to is fucking going to be wild. People who watch this right now, if they understand the world that you and I are living in, are going to see the future and be like, you guys were dinosaurs.
Is what you were describing similar to, for example, a lot of people who still had cable and maybe didn't adopt to YouTube yet because they were on old shitty internet?
So some of the, for sure,
it's like once their internet got upgraded, it was like, oh, fuck cable. I'll just watch YouTube. My parents watch YouTube all day. They got rid of my parents, 70s.
I think what he's saying is almost the opposite. We've had this technology. We just haven't had the asset to match the technology. Like we've had...
Well, it's a mix of both. So you're both right? So like one is we had to upgrade the assets, but also there's all kinds of things like, so the equivalent of I don't have fast enough internet is I don't have a digital wallet. Right, like that would be one example. If all of a sudden I have a digital wallet and I have the digital asset, then I can interact with all this stuff. And there's still a ton of work. Like don't get this wrong. This isn't happening tomorrow, right? Like there's still tons and tons of work. But like there's going to be a world where literally you go to work, you get into a car, that car fucking shows up without a driver. It's a driverless car that just picks you up as part of a robo taxi. And as you drive, literally the car is just using a wallet that's in the car and it's just streaming payments to the government, which is taking their taxes in real time rather than stop at a toll. I mean, think about it. You drive on a road and you stop and we literally reach in our pocket and grab paper money and hand it to somebody else. And then they look at it, they count it and they give us back fucking coins.
Archaic in a way.
Stupid. Yeah. So eventually the technology all gets built. But then where you end up going to is like, okay, well, what else can get automated, right? Where else can this happen? So why is it that if I have a stock, I have to go from the stock to a common unit of account, which is the dollar, and then go back into, let's say, to buy a house? Why can't I just take the stock and use the value of the stock to buy the house?
Is there some sort of like tax liability there that we're worried about?
There's tons of regulation, taxes, all this stuff's going to have to get upgraded.
Because people might try to like avoid paying taxes by transferring their wealth from asset to asset. Right?
All kinds of stuff will have to happen in terms of
there
people
was probably reasonable.
Well, it's just, no, the person selling the house isn't going to take your stock certificate. Right? Like if I'm selling my house and you show up and you're like, yo, here's Apple stock. I'm probably like, dude, go sell your fucking Apple stock and bring me dollars. Right? And then
the government doesn't infringe on that at all. The government is like, you have to. I don't
know the exact regulations. Gotcha, I'm sure that you could figure out a way to do it. Maybe you have to pay extra taxes or whatever, but like.
Because the government might say like, you need to prove that you've made income off that stock. And that's when you change it from stock to cash. I'm going to take my cut from that. Then you go buy a house. Don't go buying a house without paying a piper.
But
I hear what you're saying.
So all of a sudden,
if they're getting their tax money in real time, they're not even worried about you. I see. They're not worried about you trying to beat them because this is all automated anyway. We have all these rules set in place because we're trying to beat the tax man. Matter of fact, this is the best. Dude, all these like Bernie Sanders and fucking AOC and all, they should be dying for us to do Bitcoin because then you get your money. These rich motherfuckers can't get away.
Even better is on top of that, think of like the SEC. So the SEC spends millions and millions of dollars a year to find people who did something wrong, build a case, and then go enforce on them. If all of a sudden all the stocks are digital assets, and let's say that you've got a wallet and we know who you are, your age, your income, where you live, your accreditation status, all this stuff, and you want to transfer that stock to him, right? And they know who he is, where he lives, what his income is, accreditation status, etc. And it's an illegal transaction, right? It breaks the rules. The code is going to serve as the law. The code's just going to say, nope, illegal transaction, reject, right? And so now all of a sudden the SEC saves all that time, money, and energy from fucking figuring out who you two idiots are and building a case and enforcing on you. They just prevent it up front. It actually makes, in a crazy world, it makes the regulators, the government, etc., better at their job, and it creates a more efficient system. Now, there's a lot of people in Bitcoin who don't like the fact that the government's going to get power here, right? In terms of and get some sort of benefit as well.
Yeah.
But ultimately, what ends up happening is the world we're going to is automated, it's digital, and it's run on open, decentralized protocols.
So not only is it that, we're already very forthcoming with the information in our lives. We act like we want this privacy, but the reality is we got our phones tracking wherever we go at every point in time during the day. I mean, I had a buddy of mine growing up who ended up going to jail because because he broke the law, but also because his phone proved that he was in one place, then another place where a crime took place, whatever. It doesn't matter. But point is,
did he do it?
Who knows? All
right.
Who knows? Who knows?
Must be a close buddy. All right.
Close guy. So the point I'm trying to get to is that like some might say that the blockchain would be intrusive if it would mint every action that you made that day. For example, you hopped in an Uber, it's paying for the Uber while you're doing that. You're buying a cup of coffee. Every single transaction that you've had throughout the day is going to be minted. Your wife can be like, where were you at 2 p.m.? Well, I'm going to just go check the blockchain. You said that you were getting coffee, but you were really at this hotel banging this broad. So there is a way that the blockchain is almost snitching on oneself, especially if it's open source, if anybody can access the blockchain. And you need anybody to be able to access it, because without that, there's no surefire way of proving that you aren't doing nefarious things, right?
You're so far down the rabbit hole that you are a Bitcoiner already. Keep going.
I'm getting it and I understand it. That being said, maybe what will happen is we'll be so comfortable with our information being transparent. Like every time I open Venmo, for some reason, it tells me the things that like people that I know are buying.
Social feed. Yeah.
I'm like, well, don't show me that. Like, I don't want to know. Like, I'm paying the lady who cleans my house. Not only could I care less, I don't want to know. Like, I don't want you to know who I'm paying. Why are you showing me that? But it's almost like they're priming us for this time where every single action that we make is going to be coded. It's terrifying, but at the same time, is that just what it is?
No, it's terrifying. So China is super into all this stuff, right? They're creating something called a digital currency, whatever. It's like DCEP, I think is the name of it.
Yeah.
Basically what they're trying to do is they're trying to take all the ideas of a cryptocurrency, blockchain, whatever, and they want to create a digital currency. And they're like, yo, we're super like, forward thinking, we're innovative, blah, blah, whatever.
No, you want to track every
They want to track everything. So it increases, part of the risk is that there's an increase in financial surveillance capabilities. And so there's a really important thing to talk about, because ultimately what we need just as much of an investment in terms of the infrastructure and decentralization and kind of all this. We also need huge investment, whether it's through Bitcoin developers or other people, into all sorts of privacy technology as well. So like when I fast forward 30 to 50 years from now, I see a world where there are technologists around the world that are building privacy-centric technologies that allow for people to not only hide because it's their human right to have privacy, but also to use pseudonymity when they do things, so that you may be able to see that it was this entity and this entity that transacted with each other, but you don't know who owns those entities, right? And then on top of that, it's all built on these open decentralized protocols where there's full automation. So when you look at that world way out there, you say, we got a ton of work to do. But if we can get to that world, ultimately what you do is you loosen the dependence on government. You loosen the dependence on the existing incumbents and infrastructure. And then on top of that, what you do is you give power back to the people. And I think that's ultimately where all the distrust comes from, is people are looking and they're saying, wait a second, does the government really have my best interest at heart? Does the bank really have my best interest at heart?
So here's something I've been trying to ask is, and this is maybe a stupid question.
You don't have to caveat on all stupid questions. They should ask me like 100 stupid questions.
Yeah, I just ask him. I take it on the chin. This asshole always prefaces it.
Yeah.
Just looks
Makes
stupid.
him sound smart. Go ahead.
It does make me sound smarter. It lowers
He
the
is smarter than you, but go ahead.
I started buying a little bit of Bitcoin early on because I was like, you know what? I didn't understand any of the technology, but I was like, a global currency just makes sense.
Yep. Mistake, by the way.
We're so to not understand technology?
No.
Or just buy a little bit.
A little bit. You should have bought a lot.
Up. I fucked up hard. But not as bad as him, right? This is a stupid question.
It's like little is bad until you meet somebody who has none, and then that's
Then
like
I feel a
worse.
little
Okay.
bad.
Go.
Going on
But
then.
the one thing that I
Going
keep
all
thinking is if Bitcoin is a disruptor, which makes perfect sense, can't that upset enough people that some group is going to be like, you know what? Fuck this. We're going to hack and we're going to bring this whole thing down. Especially if 60% of the people who own Bitcoin are like, no, I'm not giving this shit up. Fuck you. The U.S. government or some super powerful entity could be like, no. Like you said, we will go to war to destroy entire
We went
countries.
to war for far less.
Yep.
So
Why don't we
have
just, all
killed
right, all we got to do, hack Bitcoin.
millions of
this shit is
people.
ours again.
For far less.
But so from a technical perspective, they can't hack it, because what they would have to do is they basically would have to get control of so much of the mining power. And if they went to go get control of all that mining power, they would have to on a geopolitical level. It's not like all the mining powers in the US or in China or in Iran or in somewhere in South America or in Africa or
We
wherever.
would have to hack all these millions of computers.
Or there would be global coordination, which doesn't appear to be likely in any way. But on top of that, even more so, is the financial incentive to embrace it is bigger than the financial incentive to destroy it.
Another thought I had is, the government or somebody just be like, oh, all these people who are Bitcoin billionaires, I'm just going to indict you on some bullshit charge just so I can take your Bitcoin and then we can have more wealth. Is that a danger for a regular guy who just bought 1,000 Bitcoin at $600 and now is fucking rich?
So there's always risks in everything, right? And I think that part of the conversation that becomes really interesting is if you disincentivize the adoption of something, that's a big problem.
Right.
Now, you could argue that there's some politicians who they want to do that same thing, not because people own Bitcoin, because they own too many dollars, right? Maybe they don't want to put them in jail, but they want to take all their dollars, right? And they're like, oh, you're too rich. Like, okay, well, I thought we live in a capitalistic free market society, right? And so ultimately what ends up happening is people will always want to go after those who have more than them, right? Whether it's a politician, an average person, whatever. And what you end up finding, though, is Bitcoin is a way more kind of democratic view. Right now, today, anyone in the world can go buy Bitcoin. You and many people around the world can't go buy a lot of assets, me included. There's super exotic financial instruments that if you're not an institution, you can't buy.
Yeah.
If you're not an accredited person, you can't go fucking invest in a company, all this stuff, right? So you get the democratic aspect of it. On top of that, there's this idea of if you have an internet connection, you can just connect to the Bitcoin blockchain. You don't need anyone's permission, even if they tell you it's illegal, even if they say they're going to shut it down, all this stuff. As long as you have an internet connection, you can get on. The wildest thing I've seen to show you just how extreme this is there was, I think it was in Venezuela, there was a blackout. And so, of course, like all these freaking trolls, you started us off with saying, like, I've been like, dancing on graves on Twitter, right? And so all these trolls are yelling and screaming. They're like, oh my God, the electrical grid's down. Like, you can't use Bitcoin. We're like, hey, you idiots, you can't use dollars either because 92% of the supply is electric. But okay, somebody literally used a generator, turned on their generator, got access to power, then took their computer and they pointed it, and there's a satellite that runs this node, and they basically were able to send a Bitcoin transaction via the satellite, even though the entire electrical grid in the country was down. And so, like, by the way, that's a super extreme one-off case. Like, not everyone's going to ever have to do that, whatever. But it just showed the fact that even when the entire national infrastructure was down, if you went to the bank with your generator, you're not getting any money, right? And so what ended up happening is it completely reduces the reliance of the individual on the government. To your point, there's going to be a lot of people who don't like that.
Yeah.
But what ends up happening is there's a difference between rules and enforcement. So jaywalking is illegal in New York City. You ever jaywalked? Yeah, I do it all the time. You do it?
Yeah, you do it in front of cops.
Of course. They don't enforce it, right? Because guess what? It would be nearly impossible to enforce it, right? Like they would literally be arresting people all day long if that's what it was, right? Or giving tickets or whatever bullshit. And so there's a lack of enforcement around a rule, and therefore the rule basically doesn't exist. So if you want to enforce on Bitcoin any rule, you can't.
Give me your doomsday scenario for Bitcoin, even if it's not something you believe in. What is the potential?
The number one risk to Bitcoin, like all this other stuff, I think is just intellectual Olympics. The number one risk is in the development process, as the code continues to get upgraded, etc. There's a bug that's introduced into the code, and so that bug then gets exploited. Whatever. Now, I think that that's a near 0% probability, but to me, right, and other people disagree with me, but that's what I think is the biggest risk. So kind of a self-inflicted wound of the Bitcoin community.
Because they're still creating code for Bitcoin?
They're constantly upgrading it.
They're constantly upgrading the Bitcoin code. That's separate from the mining.
So what they're doing is they're building on top of it. They're doing all kinds of things around it, but they're not ever changing that core monetary policy.
And they is human beings, so this is potential human error.
Yeah.
There's always going to be human error.
There's code. Yeah, there's code being written, whatever. So again, very low likelihood because of where the code's being contributed for things on kind of think of it almost like on the fringe, right, rather than the core value proposition. And then two is, again, the whole idea of like optimizing for security. They don't want to go faster than everybody else. They don't want to be the most innovative in terms of most secure. There's now $1 trillion of value at stake. We cannot fuck this up.
How much you got?
Enough.
More than $500.
Well, considering you said you put $60,000 in Coinbase, I have 61,000.
Okay, got 60. Give me.
Which means you're gonna put 62. So then I got 63, and then we're gonna work you up to 120K.
Give me a number. What do you have? You got like $2,000 in there.
Enough.
Like what? 2,500.
Is there a number that I could lie to you about that would make you happy?
Yeah, try it.
All right, $500.
You look like you got 500. You got to play. You got to play to Italians' egos. You got to go at them a little bit. Like, yeah, I mean, with your outfit, I would say you got about $600 in there. You know what I mean?
I'm actually mad that you have your shirt buttoned today.
I didn't want you to get too comfortable. No. What are we talking about? $1 million? We talking about 10 million? We talking about 100 million? Like, where are you at?
Well, the first problem is you're denominating everything in dollars.
That's what I was gonna say, you dummy.
Y'all are bullies, bro. Y'all are real bullies. I'm just trying to ask you.
The dollar is
can I tell you?
No melting ice.
Can I tell you a trick?
Yeah.
You want to like really go dance on graves on Twitter?
Yeah.
You should go buy 2 Bitcoin, which would be the $120,000 I told you you're going to put in Coinbase. Yeah. And then you could tweet at Warren Buffett and Jeff Bezos and all these guys and tell them that you're richer than them because you got 2 Bitcoin and they got 0.
Wait, Buffett doesn't have a single Bitcoin?
Well, he thinks that it's going to 0, but he also doesn't use email. So I don't know if we should listen to him about that.
But he's done pretty well.
Has he? Over the last 10 years, he hasn't beat the S&P 500.
God damn, this guy got bars for days. This guy.
Like, if you held Bitcoin.
Hold on. He hasn't beat the S&P 500?
For the last decade. Now, to his credit, he's one of the greatest investors of all time, gone on an epic run.
Hold on, let me just sell my fucking...
Yeah. What does that
sell
mean
my
exactly
Berkshire Hathaway real quick.
The S&P 500?
So basically the
That's just what the
S&P's
stock
returns
market is.
every year.
Yeah.
Like it's an index.
Oh, so there.
He hasn't outperformed it like in terms of like...
The S&P 500 is what? The top 500 companies? Basically, the market.
The market,
he hasn't beaten the market.
Now his problem is he's got a lot of money to deploy, right? So he's got hundreds of billions of dollars. Like it's not like you can just be like, hey, let me buy one Apple stock, right? Like you got to put a lot of money to work. And so as you get more money, it's harder to do that. But all jokes aside, he's the first person to say, like, he doesn't understand technology. Like that's not where he made
what
his
he
money,
said
right?
As far as investing is, I only invest in companies that
I understand all stuff. And like I always joke
Bezos
and say,
should understand this. You should be accepting
Bezos
Bitcoin
actually
for
hasn't
payment.
talked too much about it, so like we don't really know where he
I
stands.
bet Bezos got it.
You think?
I mean, probably he understands
If you're that
technology.
rich, you got money everywhere. Like, why wouldn't you?
Bro,
Like-
what if his wife put all of her money in Bitcoin, dude?
I'm
That would be unfucking real.
That'd be
No, she gave it
hilarious.
away.
Her and that fucking teacher
Listen,
in Seattle.
Hilarious.
Jeff Bezos is wild because that dude's still the richest dude in the world, and he gave away a third of his wealth like 2
Yeah,
years
right
ago.
before he made a pandemic.
Yeah.
Dude, right before he started a pandemic.
Yeah.
Dude, he did that because he gave away half his money. He's like, fuck this bitch. Everybody got a sniffle.
You thought that he wasn't happy with 52% of e-commerce. He wanted 58.
No, you need a little bit more.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question for investors.
Is it a smart question or stupid?
This one is actually a good question. I don't know if it's smart, but it's good.
Okay.
Biggest mistake I make
That
is
shit
I always
mad
want to.
pussy, bro.
This
That
is a
shit
good
is
question.
so pussy.
I said it's a good question.
This might be a dumb question. Don't judge me for my question.
Hey, ask him how many
How
dollars he
stupid
has.
is that,
Ask him
dude?
how many dollars he has.
Yo, how many Canadian dollars you got, bro? Tell me how many Australian dollars you got.
What's your question?
How much? No, seriously, how many euros?
Euros?
How many euros do you got?
I actually think I got a €2 or whatever in my pocket right now.
You have a €2.
I don't know. Let's see.
The motherfucker don't even call it paper money anymore, dude. It's insulting.
This is if you really want. Let's see.
Damn,
that.
son, you was swiping that credit card. Look at that credit card he got. Hold
Look at that wallet, yo.
Look at that.
Look, here
at
we go.
that top credit card. Hold on, can you show that top
Nah, we're
credit
not showing
card?
my fucking credit card
Dude,
number
that
on
look
here.
like some sorority girl's iPhone. That shit is cracked up, B. Hold on, let me go this one. Oh, no, this is disrespectful, bro.
He handed this money ain't worth shit. Venezuelan dollars, euro, you got something there.
Son, the Zimbabwe money,
How much is that?
this is 10 billion Zimbabwe dollars. It just got rocks on one side and then it got a guy drilling on the other. It don't even have the president, it don't have the prime minister, the king, the tribe leader, nothing.
This one's got someone with a wig on it, and it's the Republic Bolivar of Venezuela, 50. I think this is a 50 billion.
Oh, I just saw
I don't know any.
Yeah, but you don't care about this little paper money. You know what I mean?
Of course. Well, do you care about this? Do you want the?
50
would you rather the $10 billion Zimbabwe dollar, or would you rather a Bitcoin?
It's just 50 at
No, I'll take a Bitcoin. But
All
let
right.
me.
So hold on. So here's a good
how many
question. Would you
Bitcoins
rather
got?
would you rather $60,000 or a Bitcoin?
Right now?
Yeah, right now.
I'll take 60,000 right now because
Why?
then I could just buy a Bitcoin with it, or I could not. That's freedom.
Yeah.
Stupid. What kind of dumbass question was that, dummy? Should have prefaced that
Yeah,
one.
y'all deal with this dude every day.
No, for real though. How
you
many
would
Bitcoins?
rather hold for the next 5 years. You would rather hold $60,000 in cash than a Bitcoin.
No, I'd rather have a Bitcoin. It depends if my friends have Bitcoin or not. If my friends don't have Bitcoin, does Akaash have any Bitcoin or not?
I got Bitcoin.
It would kill me.
I got
it would
Bitcoin.
honestly. Let me tell you something. It would
Listen. I'm
fucking-
here. I know it's paining the shit out of you.
Pump. It would kill me.
I got Bitcoin.
It would kill me
baby.
if he sat there and became a fucking billionaire off of Bitcoin, and I just had to look at him every week in his stupid shirt. He has one fucking.
I put all my
shirt.
money in Bitcoin. I'm long on Bitcoin.
Dude. It
no
would
shirt money.
absolutely kill. I would rather go broke than him make billions of dollars on Bitcoin.
Listen.
This is my investment question.
I don't think people understand what's about to happen.
This is my investment question.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
There's always down cycles with Bitcoin.
No.
It loses 90%
You
of
don't
its value.
preface that question, bro.
I got a great question.
Okay, good.
Got
Here
a
we
great
go.
question.
Here we go. He's all in on this one.
Bitcoin
Yeah.
there's down cycles. It loses
Yeah.
90% of its value.
Let's go.
Is that happening anytime soon if you're thinking of investing, or do you need to just put money in now and not fuck?
Bro, why are you asking me these dumbass questions?
Damn, son. What the fuck is going on over here?
So,
Sky.
there's two ways to look at it. Is you can try to.
That's God. God don't
what?
like ugly.
This dude's over here dropping his phone. So you can try to time markets, right?
Yeah.
If you think
That's
you're a
where I
trader or
always
whatever.
fuck up, is
I
trying
know.
to hit a bottom.
So instead,
You be hitting bottoms all the
if you-
time. Let's go.
I am the bottom. All right?
Okay, go.
listen, you can't laugh. You got 100% of your wealth in fiat currency.
Dude,
all right,
I
ready?
can't believe it, bro. Yo, don't call my shit fiat again, dog. That shit sounded wild disrespectful.
listen,
son.
listen, when
that shit sounded too disrespectful, bro.
That's gay in
He just
Italian.
said fiat. I know. I think he just called me
You
a maggot,
fiat,
bro. I
You
think he
a
maggoted
fiat.
me right
You
there.
Fiat?
Did you
bro.
when you started this off, you asked me about when I was on CNBC the other day.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna say the guy's name because I actually am friends with him. I like him a lot.
I'll
but,
say his name. He was coming at you, bro.
But yeah, he
Old
was. That's
dork
fine.
ass.
He's an entertainer. It's fine.
Yeah.
He's gonna get mad because he thinks he's an investor. I'm fucking around. Jason. I'm fucking around. I'm joking around. Nah,
Jason.
Jason. Nah.
Jason.
Listen,
Nah,
but
he's
somebody,
fiat, right?
I will
He's
say,
a
somebody
nerd,
told me he
bro.
had a fiat haircut. I was dying, dude. I was like, yo, they turned fiat into this super derogatory term. Like,
Yo, I
man, you
gotta get my money out of fiat, bro.
You are the
right.
fiat, yo.
Fiat is
So look, you-
crazy.
you
Son,
can
you
tr-
got most of your money in fiat.
Son,
This guy invested in Dogecoin, loser.
I didn't.
That's
actually.
some loser ass shit
I
right
didn't
here.
actually, but I should have.
You did invest in Dogecoin.
All right, listen.
Yeah.
So you could basically try to time markets, but the whole thing is, and this is just a classic investing. This isn't like financial advice. It's just a natural thing to do in investing.
Just to clarify the question is, when is the right time to invest in Bitcoin? Is it about to take another dip?
Yeah, the best
is
thing
the
you
right
can
time?
do is just dollar cost average in any asset, right? And
Okay.
what I mean by that is basically you say, yo, every Monday I'm going to buy X dollars worth. And you just buy on Monday. Don't look at the price. Next Monday, buy again. Next Monday, buy again. Next Monday, buy again, whatever. And the reason why that's an important financial thing is, look,
this is what everybody does.
If you had bought Bitcoin, let's say in December of 2017, and in December 2017, Bitcoin was at 20K, you bought it.
Yeah.
And you put all your money in it at one time.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it crashed 85%.
Yeah, he sold it when it crashed.
And then,
fucking retard. This fucking dummy. Dude, he got scared. Little twinkle toes over here.
What are you talking about?
God, my ice is melting. My ice is melting. What should I do?
You talking about this guy?
I'm talking about you.
Oh, I'm still in, baby.
Nah, you sold
Take
your
a look
Bitcoin.
at- Nah,
did you not sell
never,
it?
never.
You did. You're lying in front of Pump.
listen,
Hey,
we can
I'm
check the
lying
blockchain.
for the pump,
We can check the blockchain.
Yo,
Let me
check
show
the
you- let me show you the
blockchain. Let me see your
Coinbase right
crypto
now.
wallet. Let me
You
see your
fuck-ass
crypto
boy.
wallet.
You fuck-ass
You
boy.
also bought Litecoin.
No, I didn't. I got.
Who buys Litecoin, dude?
I got
that
Chainlink,
shit is so pussy.
There you go.
Yo,
Ooh.
Litecoin.
There you go.
Of all the
there
coins.
you go. You
Let me
the
see that
You
shit.
see
Let
the
me see
Bitcoin?
Oh, I'm dying inside, dude. I am dying inside.
Yo, he does have some stuff other than Bitcoin, though.
What else you got?
I got Chainlink. I bought a 3. It's at 30.
Yeah.
Fuck ass boy.
Well, it doesn't matter if you only put $20 in. All right, so.
Living in squalor.
All right, so listen. So basically, the whole idea of dollar cost
I
averaging.
couldn't buy a whole fucking
I
Bitcoin.
hate
I'd buy
this
one
motherfucker.
Chainlink.
You couldn't
Okay.
buy a whole chain link
So-
at $3.
That's the joke. Yeah.
The joke's on you now.
That's a joke.
Look, the dollar
couldn't
cost
buy it.
averaging is if you had bought Bitcoin, all your money in December 2017, right? And then you waited, you would have gone down 85%, up, you'd be up 300%, 3x, right? So you're $100 now worth $300, whatever. But if instead you said, yo, I got $10, I'm going to start at the top of the market, the worst time to buy, and I'm going to buy $10 every month or whatever, right? You would have way more in terms of US dollar value because you basically were buying at all these different prices, but the blended average is lower. So the whole thing of dollar cost averaging is just don't time the market. Like, I don't know where it's going in terms of like tomorrow,
So it's
today,
stupid
whatever.
for me at the end of this podcast to buy a whole Bitcoin, one entire one.
Well, you're going to put $120,000 in, so you can buy
Akaash
60
doesn't
up
have
front,
it.
and then you're just going to do 10K for a couple of weeks.
So I'm going to put 60 up front, which would be a whole Bitcoin, not the little fraction of a Bitcoin. What do you got? Some Satoshis? Is that what you got? You hanging out with your little Satoshis? You got a little coin purse for your Satoshis?
I don't think I won't buy more than you. I don't think I won't buy more than you. Don't think I won't buy more than you right now, boy.
Look, all I need is a little bit more Bitcoin. And
There's nothing funnier than fiat bros arguing with each
Yo,
other.
don't you ever call us a motherfucking fiat bro again on this goddamn podcast, Pop.
Son.
Hold on. Okay, so you're saying I should buy a
His fiat shoes he's got on too.
Bro, look at this. Nah, that shit is Bitcoin, son.
Yo,
It's
he-
blockchain. This box, bro. Look at it. I wore my most blockchain sneakers to
That's
the
fair.
podcast.
That's fair. All right,
Don't
go
make
ahead.
me
Keep
put
going.
your shit up
Keep
top
going.
there,
Hey, I
bro.
got Adams on. That's fine.
What is that?
Adams.
Them shit look like Bruce Lee sneakers,
You-
dog. Put
listen.
your fucking feet up on the table.
Listen,
right
you
now.
gonna let me
What
run the ad, the
hell?
free ad?
Dude, what?
Let me run the
is
free
this,
ad.
bro. Come
Adams.
on.
The most comfortable shoes in the world.
Nah, that's 96% of my money's in Bitcoin. I can't take it out. That's what that is, bro. That shit's ridiculous, bro. My maid wear those sneakers,
Adams.com. You
dog.
should go to Adams.com. Go ahead.
You wearing Maria's. All right. So I buy a whole Bitcoin, you're saying,
Yeah.
and then I got to put $10,000 a month or a
You should-
week.
or just every week, whatever. It doesn't. What I'm saying is like it doesn't actually matter what your plan is, but you should have a plan. You should stay disciplined to it.
Yeah,
You should
tell me
dollar
the
cost
best
average
plan. What is the best plan? That's the one I'm going to do.
Well, I mean, if I was you, what I would do right now is I would put some money in 60K or whatever, and then just do 10K every week for a couple of weeks.
For 2 weeks.
Oh, well,
This poor guy can't even count over here, dude. How am I going to trust him on math?
I count in Bitcoin, not in fiat dollars.
Okay, how many bit weeks do you need me to put money in order for me to make the most money out of this? And
Well, look, here's what I should say. Ready?
Yeah.
If I was you, you're probably going to do another Netflix special soon, right?
we'll see.
All right. If you do, you should walk in the room and you should say, "Yo, I have a shirt on, it's buttoned halfway, but you're going to pay me in Bitcoin, or I'm not going to do it." And if you do that, and they're like, "Why?" You just like pay me in Bitcoin. You'll probably end up getting paid more money.
He's calling you
over
a fiat
time.
again, yo.
Pomp.
I mean, you could get
I have
paid
a
in
lot
the
of respect for
depreciating
you.
purchasing power, or you could get paid in.
I have a
sound
lot
money.
of respect for you, Pomp. Okay, you're a veteran. Are you not a veteran?
I am.
A veteran of the Iraq War,
Yeah.
which seemed like a good idea at the time.
Somebody says that.
And then
I mean, we could talk about it if you want.
That's why he's out on dollars,
I'm just saying it kind of fell apart.
That would be an understatement.
Is that Bitcoin?
Did it fall apart, or did we just not leave?
Ooh, okay. I just
mean,
want to make sure
we could talk about the current administration that dropped
no.
bombs in another country before they bailed out the small businesses and individuals.
Listen, I'm with you. We can criticize them all day long. I just want to make sure Bitcoin isn't another Iraq war. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it seemed like really good at the time. We're like, yeah, this is what we got to do. And then later on, we're like, what the fuck?
All right, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
What would have to happen and for how long until you were like,
how would you rate this question before
this is the game? I just ask good questions.
Oh, shit.
Rick, yo, you don't got it.
I only ask 2 questions the whole podcast.
All right, let's go.
All right, what would have to happen and for how long?
You know what I'm saying? You want to call me Fiat? All right, go.
More than your Fiat legs.
Let's go.
What would have to happen for how long until you're like, yo, this is real? Like, what are the things that you're like, yo, if this happened, I'd be like, oh shit.
Akaash would have to make money.
Okay, they already do. They tax it. They already do.
Bruh.
No, they already do. They tax it.
No, Akaash would have to make money.
I think so. Our country. All right, well, he's up.
I'm up.
Fucking A, dude.
Fiat.
Like, he's made more money in Bitcoin than you.
He's such a Fiat.
you.
Didn't I tell you? I was like, yo, I bought it.
You guys are gonna tell that to a guest, and a guest is like, the fuck is Fiat?
Oh,
Dude, everybody's. I've been looking for an F word to replace the old F word, and let me tell you, we are some happy boys on this
He was
podcast.
like, why'd you buy it now? Why'd you buy it now? This is
When
dumb
did
time
you
to
buy it?
Yo, what did I buy when you bought Bitcoin?
I don't know, another shirt?
No,
Fucking idiot.
silver.
Oh, yeah.
And I was bullish on silver. I came in with my little bullshit.
So this
silver-
is exactly what happens when you go on Twitter and you just search GameStop, and then you see, oh, where are they gonna go next? Silver squeeze, and then I know that's
No,
what you did.
I bought the silver before, and I got lucky with the squeeze.
Did you get out?
Squeeze that bitch, nerds.
Did you get out?
No, I didn't get out. I'm back down, baby.
You started us off saying that you had no investments, and then you got silver. Like, Jesus.
I do have silver. No, I got a few investments, and I'm
What
about
else
to
are you
take them
invested
all
in?
out. Okay, you want to see what I'm invested in? All right, and this is not
Probably not, but go ahead.
This is not investment advice. I got to find my TD Ameritrade shit on my phone.
While you're pulling that up, I just wanted to ask: are there any threats if Bitcoin becomes too valuable? Like, say, some people say it's a bad thing if it hits 100K.
Yeah, I think it goes back to the whole thing of just like the power dynamic in the world, right? Kind of the geopolitical kind of competition, the government, what do they think, all that stuff. In my opinion, price is definitely a big component, right? If you see all of a sudden it's 100, 150, 200, 250K, like this thing's not stopping at 60K, right? It's very obvious that there's way more demand than there is supply right now. So price is obviously continuing. I don't know where there's like a trigger point, right? Is it, maybe it can go all the way up to the market cap of gold, right? Which would be about like 500,000 in Bitcoin. Then people are like, wait a minute, it's just as big as gold? Like, that's crazy, right? Maybe it's $1 million.
You think it'd be a
2x
million, right?
gold.
You're on record saying you think
It's gonna be it's gonna be $1 million. I never actually said this publicly, so here we go. I think it's gonna be $1 million by the end of 2026.
Wow.
One Bitcoin is worth $1 million.
After the next half, 18 months after the next half.
I got to call my fiance because we're gonna make some changes to our lifestyle.
No, but I think if you go back and you start to think about in terms of like how big is too big or like what would kind of pull people in, I think it's less about like, oh, hit a certain number, and to me it's actually more the adoption. So if all of a sudden like every bank in America is like, yo, we're doing this, it's gonna be pretty hard to kind of roll that back. And that's what we're seeing right now, right? Is you got all these banks and stuff. So like as the price goes up, the price is going up because all these banks are showing up. Like Tesla bought $1.5 billion. They took 7% of their cash and they were like, you know what? This dollar thing's not such a great idea. We're going to just buy this Bitcoin thing.
I got Tesla stock.
Like,
What's up?
That shit going down.
so like
going
all of a sudden
down,
now,
bro.
like, what are you going to do? You're going to go to the Fortune 500 companies and be like, yo, you're breaking the law? Like, that feels like maybe they will, right? I don't know. Like, anything could happen. But that just feels like that's a little crazy. And so I think what you're starting to see here is ultimately, if they were going to do something, they would have already done it. And so now what they're trying to just figure out is like, yo, how do we benefit from it, right?
I don't even know why I'm listening to this motherfucker. I'm up 14% today, bro. Look at that shit right there.
You're up 14% on what?
Look at that shit. Oh, I'm actually up 0.14%. You fucking fiats. Come on. Fuck with me. Fuck with me, guys. Listen. Silver
You sure that's not your 10-year return?
Yeah, dog. No, I'm getting raped out here in these markets, dude. So maybe a smart way to invest would be invest in the companies that are going to adopt it first.
So definitely that's one way to do it. Like the whole thing, again, it's just like anything, right? There's people who want to be diversified. So even if you believe that the dollar is going to be the greatest thing in the world forever or whatever.
How do you feel about diversity?
He loves it. That's why you don't like the white people that control the dollar.
My whole thing when it comes to financial markets is I actually think that there's a lot of kind of bullshit that's spewed by Wall Street, financial advisors, all this kind of stuff. And again, everyone's different. So there's no like one size fits all solution. But if you look at people who build real wealth, they don't own 100 stocks, right? They do the work. You have to take personal responsibility. You have to understand, okay, it's my money. I got to figure out how to grow it. I'm going to go and I'm going to have concentrated positions and things that I think will work. By the way, that also means if it goes wrong, it's going to go down, right? Go back to the whole Warren Buffett thing. He may not understand Bitcoin. Dude's pretty smart about investing. He says concentration builds wealth, diversification protects it. If you're not wealthy, stop buying 500 stocks because your $1 going up to $2 doesn't have an impact on your portfolio. So that's one. The second thing I think is that people want to invest in all kinds of crazy shit they don't understand. So it's like, actually, if you're like a sneakerhead, you'll probably make more money investing in sneakers than you will in the stock market.
That's a great advice.
Because you understand sneakers. So like, go invest in sneakers.
So should I not invest in Bitcoin? Because I still don't know what the fuck it is.
Well, what stocks do you have right now? Because that's going to scare the shit out of me.
Okay, you ready?
No.
Berkshire Hathaway B.
your Fiat couldn't buy A?
Right? Nah, I couldn't. That shit was dumb expensive. I got JP Morgan up 1.28% today. Your poor asses. I got IWM. Do you know what that one is?
No. What is that?
It's IWM, bro. I don't know what the fuck that shit is. Someone told me to buy that shit. It's down. I got Disney. Your boy's even. You know. I got XME. I got silver. I got Microsoft, and I got NVDA, which I thought was Nevada until last week. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. But your boy's up 0.14%. So.
You got the boomer portfolio over there.
I do have a boomer portfolio.
You have Berkshire Hathaway, JP Morgan, Microsoft, and Disney? What the fuck is going on over there?
I just asked like a wealthy dude that was successful that's older, like, what should I get in?
Yeah.
And he's like, these things. But I'm going to sell it all. And I'm going to get into some coin, dude. Actually, I don't know if I'm selling it all, but I think I want you to honestly give me an investment strategy that you can put your stamp on.
I've been saying this for a long time now. Every single person in the world should have some exposure to Bitcoin. I don't know if that means 0.1% of your portfolio or 20%.
I need you to say exactly what I should do.
How old are you?
37 years old.
How much money did you make last year?
I can't say publicly.
Okay. Yeah. You say you're 37?
Yeah.
So if I was you, I would be more risky than not. You got time to make it up. It's not like you're 65 and trying to retire. Mm-hmm. And so I literally would put like 50% in Bitcoin.
50% of my cash that I've amassed, or 50% of what I made last year?
Of your cash. Because here, think of it this way. There's two worlds. There's the fiat, inflationary, unlimited supply world, and there's the digital, decentralized, finite supply world, right? If you tell me that you think that the old world has a 99% chance of surviving and this one only has a 1% chance, then you should be 99% in one. If you tell me you think it's 50-50, then be 50-50. If you think it's 99 in one, then be 99 in one.
Yeah, back to like what I was saying earlier. I have no question that the blockchain technology is going to be what wins, right? Like I have no question that like streaming is going to be what wins when it comes to television, right? But my concern is it Bitcoin, Ethereum, or these different brands that utilize this technology that I believe in, are those going to be the successful ones?
But they're going after different things. That's the whole key, right? Is Bitcoin is a currency that is specifically created to fix the money, right? I got a buddy, Marty Bent, who always says like people come for the money, but they stay for the money. And what that means is like people do exactly what you did, what I did, what everyone does.
Yeah.
Is they're like, yo, should I get rich off this? Sign me up. Where can I go? Right. So I did mining, and I was like, oh shit, they're just sending me all this stuff. Like, this is amazing. Like, oh, okay. Well, what else can I do? Right. And you start like looking at it. But then what ends up happening is you get thrown on this rabbit hole and you get educated and you start to understand like, what is money? Wait, why are they printing so much? How does this work? Why is this one better? And you start to learn, and then all of a sudden you're like, yo, if I don't own investable assets, I'm screwed. Okay. Why don't they teach us this in school? There's like 14 states in America that teach financial education. Why don't we teach people that?
Yeah.
Right? And so you start to understand like, okay, like the system is not really set up for us to be successful. And so you either get lucky because somebody somewhere told you like, yo, buy a stock, do whatever, or you have to be smart enough and go look for the information, or you basically have to pay somebody to do it for you, right? With a financial advisor or whatever. And so you start to realize like, okay, hold on a second. Like, how do I build wealth? And you start to look at it and like, you're not going to get rich off your salary. You're not going to get rich with no investable assets, and you're not going to get rich because you fucking won the lottery. And so what you got to do is you got to go actually do this stuff. And I think that's where like people start to like realize like, yo, they're not coming to save us, right? And this goes back to, and it's like a more macro picture of like the government giving you $1,400 is in one hand, they're giving you the money. In the other hand, they're jacking up the cost of living. And they're literally just saying, yo, we gave you $1,400. Like, look how great we are. And then all of a sudden, when you try to go use it, how come if the government handing you money was supposed to solve all our problems, how come literally we have a wider wealth inequality gap now than we had 12 months ago? They gave us all this money. They printed $4 trillion, $5 trillion, whatever it was. And they literally gave us $2,000+, right? In terms of the people who are eligible for it. They gave all this unemployment insurance, all this stuff. So if all of a sudden the wealth inequality gap is worse,
Yeah. What the fuck is going on?
maybe the money's just messed up.
Okay, Akaash has to pee. I can see him. He's about to piss
I'm
his
about
pants.
to fucking explode.
But when we'll let you get out of here.
Do we take pee break?
We're going to take a pee break, and then I want you to talk about your best friend, Peter Schiff. All right, we're back from the pee break.
We should wait for Miles because he's coming back in, right?
Oh, yeah. No, that's fine.
Okay.
What does Miles do?
Miles is editing another episode. We had Chris Hansen, your biggest nightmare, on the podcast. but
Did he hit you with the line?
Oh, yeah, I did.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, you've been hit with that line before?
What was that like the first time?
I thought I saw you on the show, but go ahead.
All right, so we have a couple questions before you get out. Obviously, I want to hear about this Peter Schiff beef. You guys are always beefing. But before that, let's say we get rid of this fiat currency. It's okay, Miles, come in. Doesn't matter. Let's say we get rid of fiat currency. We get rid of paper currency. How do we do illegal shit? How do we buy drugs? How do we pay for pussy? How do we do things that we don't want people to know about? And that is a real problem because sometimes you need to do illegal shit. If you're rich, you need a liver, you're going to have to buy a liver from somebody, right? You're going to have to do things under the table. You know, you want to get a discount on someone's car or whatever like that. You can't have it minted onto the blockchain. Well, what happens to that market?
It's important to remember that in many cases, the most illegal stuff happens through the traditional financial system, just in terms of like, go look at how much the banks have been fined for just laundering money through their banks, right? So like
fucking Epstein.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically you just get into this weird world of like, we're going to go lock up the drug dealers on the street corner, but then we'll let you launder like billions of dollars to our bank, like, but you're cool, whatever. So like people I think are like onto that game now. So I think that will continue where like you have these regulated entities that basically put their stamp of approval, like not illegal, regardless of what the currency is, and it'll end up being illegal. So like I think people, the big time illegal folks will do that. In terms of like more what I'll call like the street crime, right? Whatever that ends up being.
I want to buy some weed. I'm in a state where it's not legal. How do I pay for that fucking weed?
So there's two things. One is there's still a lot of people who use cash for that stuff for obvious reasons, right? And so I think that cash is not going to go away tomorrow for the number of years moving forward. Like people will still use physical cash to do stuff.
But it will go away eventually.
It will, for
I go
sure.
into Van Leeuwen to buy some ice cream. You can't use cash.
Yes.
My dad's joke used to be whenever he would pay for something at a diner was, do you accept cash? That was his dad joke because who wouldn't accept cash, right? There are places that do not accept cash in his lifetime.
Yeah.
What the fuck happens when all these places stop?
There's also privacy coins, right? In terms of like, there's all this like R&D and innovation, experimentation around, can I basically use a cryptocurrency asset that isn't able to be tracked, right? Can't be seen and all this stuff. Jury's out in terms of like, will that stuff persist as a private focused cryptocurrency as a standalone? Will the technology be ported over and eventually incorporated into Bitcoin? Like, I'm not technical enough to know like what's going to win, what's not going to win, but like there's a lot of effort around privacy in crypto assets. And it's very interesting for this exact reason. And then on top of that is maybe the asset itself isn't necessarily private and have this privacy technology, but the way you use it could be private. And so there's all sorts of, really at this point kind of experimentation around like, well, what if I have Bitcoin, which technically isn't private, but I could send it to you in a way? Or what if I could take my Bitcoin and I could basically put it in this thing called like a coin joint, which when I put it in there, we all put it in there.
And then you don't know who's in it.
And then I take out another one and then like, it's like, I was running and then I had a red shirt on, ran into a room with a bunch of other red shirts. Like now you don't know who I am. Like, see ya. Right. So like, again, some of this technology
There's
is going
ways to mask it a bit.
some of this technology is going to end up being super, super valuable. And some of it we're going to look back and be like, man, that was a really stupid idea. But like, it's important for all the experimentation.
Right. So we are going to be able to solve a problem.
I think so. I'm like a long-term optimist and technologist, right? Like technologists will figure out solutions to real world problems over time because that's the financial incentive. And also it's like the society incentive.
Yeah.
And so if people want to do something and there's not a way to do it, technologists will figure it out.
Al.
One thing. So you explained this earlier. I think I got it. There's one blockchain and then a bunch of miners that are constantly doing all the computing and confirming of all the transactions. What happens? You said you invested in like some company that's able to send a Bitcoin like across the world like that. Like, how is there enough time to get confirmed by 51% of these miners if
it's in 1 second?
Yeah.
So layer one is the process, is like the mining process you talked about in terms of everyone is confirming it, but these 10-minute blocks, right? So go back to the Monopoly example. It's like if I held up the piece of paper with all the transactions and we were all like, yep, looks good, right? Whatever. Layer two, specifically what Strike is using is called the Lightning Network. And so very simplistically, basically you and I want to transact with each other. We could open up a channel and I can send you the Bitcoin. And then at some point in the future, you basically write it to the blockchain. You say, yo, I got the Bitcoin now. And like you can basically kind of contribute it into the transactions. So you use the layer one as a way to keep security and keep kind of provenance. But at the same time, you have this fast transactions. So one way to think about it is, and this is like a really weird way to think about it, but like imagine if you were on a highway and the highway was backed up or it was going a little slow and you got off the highway, went on a side road, right? There was no traffic and then you got back on the highway. In some like weird way, that's similar to these like layer twos. Is like, it's a faster way to transact, but like you can't take the side road all the way to your destination. You got to get back on the highway. Right. And so maybe it helps in the short term, but you still got to get back on.
But doesn't it kind of fuck up the system? Because now it's like, hey, you could have gave me this Bitcoin last week, but I just now said that I got it now. It's like you could have did a bunch of nefarious shit throughout that.
You're going down the rabbit hole. So there's technical solutions to prevent that from happening. Okay. Right. So the example I'm using is like super simplistic, but basically you're able to do both. You're able to keep the kind of integrity of the Bitcoin blockchain and network and who owns what in the transactions, but you're able to do it at the second layer where with these channels, you can essentially do it in a faster, cheaper way. Right. So I always caveat it. I'm like, yeah, there's like a bunch of like magic behind the scenes that makes it work and more technical people can explain it in great detail. But like from a use case standpoint, the second layer allows for it's easier to transact back and forth from a time perspective and a cost perspective versus the layer one.
Who is Peter Schiff and why does he hate you so much?
Peter Schiff likes me. I like Peter Schiff too. I think that we both recognize that I'm Batman and he's the villain. So it sucks to be him. But
who is Peter Schiff?
Peter Schiff is actually an incredibly intelligent guy. He is probably one of the best known gold bugs in the world. And so Peter Schiff has this really unique ability to understand the macro environment.
What's a gold bug?
They're into gold. So a Bitcoiner versus a gold bug.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like another word.
Into gold, into Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So if you think about
bug that Fiat's get.
So if you think about Peter Schiff has this incredible understanding of the macro environment, and he's really, really been on top of all kinds of different things that have happened. From what the government response to the COVID was, he became really famous for calling the 2008 financial crisis. Some people would argue, if you call a bubble every day, eventually there is one. Like you can't say you're a genius, right? But at the same time, like he did call it whatever. Yeah. No. And also, like I've learned
to think that about this Michael Berry guy a little bit. Like he calling a lot of
broken clock is right.
Yeah, broken clock. Yeah. So like I really respect Peter Schiff in terms of like his understanding of the financial markets and his belief in sound money.
Now talk that shit.
Well, we agree on all the problems. We actually agree on the solution.
Jay-Z. That's what just sounded like.
we agree on sound money.
About to drop.
Listen,
give it to him, bro.
Listen,
what's up?
We agree on all the problems in the system. We agree on sound money as the solution. Which camera's on?
Yeah, get it.
This one. Yo, Peter, listen. But you a dinosaur, dog. You literally got this gold. It's physical gold. Ain't nobody want the shiny rocks. They want the digital asset. They want sound money in a digital form. That's why everyone is selling gold, dropping gold, and they're buying Bitcoin. Bitcoin. I love you, but you got the problems wrong, right? You got the solution right, but you got the application of the solution wrong.
Maybe he's just trying to drive the price down so he could buy the Bitcoins.
Listen, here's a funny thing about Peter Schiff is his son Spencer Schiff came out of nowhere. All of a sudden, Spencer Schiff came on Twitter like a year ago, and this dude literally recently said, nah, I'm not going to listen to my dad. I'm not going to hold any stock. I'm going to sell everything. And he just bought Bitcoin.
Are you saying that you're his dad?
Yo,
now?
you won.
No, but what I am saying,
are
but
you
listen,
Spencer's dad?
Who's daddy?
Oh shit!
Who's daddy?
Yo,
but what I am saying is it's a smart move, right? Peter understands. He's like, look, I got to keep my reputation intact. I'm the gold bug. I'm going to keep my business going.
Right.
But yo, my son's going to be wealthier than me, so he's going to buy all the Bitcoin, and then we're going to benefit from the Bitcoin.
We rock hoes, y'all rock fellas.
I mean, I didn't say it.
Put
a
it
poet
together.
did, but yeah.
So Peter Schiff just stays getting bodied on Twitter, is what you're trying to say.
But Peter Schiff likes it because it's attention, right? And if you're in the attention economy, then hey, like who's talking about?
You're not even giving him gold economy anymore.
No.
You're really talking to him like you a bitch. Oh,
No.
he wants
Listen.
attention. I'm gonna give him his little attention.
Listen, hey, it's good. Bitcoiners love Peter Schiff because when Peter Schiff says stuff, it usually means that if you buy Bitcoin, then it's going to go up in value soon.
God damn.
'Cause he paints the bottoms. Like he's just like he'd be
call
real
him a
quiet.
bottom
Bitcoin
now?
goes from 50 to 60. He don't say a word. Then all of a sudden it goes from 60 to 55. He's like, oh, it's going to zero. And then next thing he knows, they're like, all right, man, whatever.
Wow.
Look, here's what I will say though. He's been right a lot of times.
yeah.
But the thing he's been wrong about is gold's down over the last 6 months. People are saying they don't want gold. Bitcoin's up like 500%.
Yeah.
In the last 12 months, Bitcoin's up, I think it's like 550%. Gold is up like 19%. That's little boy numbers compared to Bitcoin.
How can it go to zero? That's the last thing I want to know. How can it go to zero? Just so I'm prepared for it when I go all in and that shit hits the fucking bottom. Just tell me how it can go to zero so I know.
The more I'm here,
Yeah.
the more worried I'm going to be when you do go in.
I thought you say the long
Please
run.
believe I'll be in Brickell looking for you. Just screaming, Pumps! It's down to 45! I bet the house! I'm being serious, man. If I go all in, I need your address.
It's like I did not dollar cost average. I bought it all right at the top.
That's all I know how to do, okay? I don't buy part of a sneaker. You know what I'm saying? Give me the fucking breads. I want the whole thing.
When you shop at Payless, you don't got to buy that much.
If you put your fucking shoe up, put your fucking shoe up right now. I can't believe this guy's talking shit. Look at what he's wearing
But I
right now.
strategically
Nah, but
placed
it fits,
myself.
though.
Say
Yeah,
what?
this guy's too
Don't
rich to
you
worry
cat
about
for
it.
him with his bullshit. Look what
Nah,
he's
it
wearing.
works.
Listen, he was coming at your shirt earlier. I didn't say nothing about that. But
Yeah, because you know this shit's fly.
Yeah,
but
of course.
this shit with the feet. First of all, put your feet up
Adams
there.
is Adams. Listen,
You're a size 8. You don't talk about feet ever, bro.
your
Come
feet
on. You don't want this, dog.
Nah,
you
I
don't
don't
want
want
these flippers, bro.
bro, you got so much room in the back of your heels. Ain't even touching the back of your shoes. You got clown shoes on. You got fucking clown shoes on.
No, it's Bitcoin. There's room to grow, baby. You know what I'm saying? We gotta do this. Let's go.
All right, it's not going to zero. Here's why.
Okay.
I promise you, it's not going to zero.
I mean, I believe that.
I promise. You know why? Because I'll buy them all if it goes to $1.
Wow.
It ain't.
Me
It might.
too.
It might go down a lot, but it ain't going to zero.
wanna
What do you think it will go down to?
I don't think it's going to go over a long period of time. Again,
A short period of time, because that's all I care about.
the short period of time is impossible to know because so many things can happen. Like the other day, they're like, India's going to ban it. And everyone's like, I'm selling my Bitcoin. Like, the fuck if India bans it, that shit's going to be more valuable.
Yeah.
Right? So it's just, it's investor psychology plays so much into it. Because you remember, it's a 24/7, 365 market.
Right.
And there's not a lot of electronic trading that happens. So the stock market's super rigged. They got, like, this is the funniest thing about the stock market.
Yeah.
If the stock market goes down more than 7% in the day or 7.5%, whatever it is, they shut it off.
Yeah, that is kind of fucked
They're
up.
like, yo, time out, we're losing too much money. Everyone stop. Like, what? Bitcoin went down 50% in the day, and 60%
When?
of people didn't fucking sell the shit.
When did it do that?
In March of last year.
March of last year.
Yeah.
That
So-
was the time.
Yeah, we fucked up.
That was
Yeah,
when I should've got it.
but here's the whole thing is it's not going to go to zero because there'll always be people who will believe in it. Could it go down a lot? Sure. Could it go up a lot? Sure.
Yeah.
But ultimately, where people are going to psychologically shift at some point in the future, I don't know when, is they're not going to price it in dollars anymore. So the whole idea of like, is it worth 60,000, 70,000, 100,000, 20,000, like whatever. It's like, how much is the dollar worth? You're like, yo, $1 is $1.
Wow.
And so when you start to just denominate things in the actual asset,
Yep.
they're just going to be like, yo, how much is that gold-plated AK-47? Like, yo, it's 100 Satoshis. Okay, cool. Here's my 100
You have
Satoshis.
100 Bitcoin?
I have 100 Satoshis.
Of course you do.
How many do you have?
How many Satoshis?
I got 100 more Satoshis than you.
You got more Satoshis than me. That's facts. I got more cash than you.
Ah.
Yo, you broke fuck.
I know where your
This guy
Netflix
got no
deal.
money, son.
I know what his Netflix deal was.
Money, son. This guy got no money at all. I just realized that. I'm taking financial advice from a broke motherfucker who got diner waitress sneakers on, and this guy trying to tell me shit. I'm rich.
How do
I get my money into Bitcoin immediately?
Since we've been sitting here, your dollar's gotten less valuable.
I know. It's breaking my fucking heart. Mark, say something mean to him.
Mark's the coolest one in here. You've been chill the whole time.
Shut the fuck up.
You lost us. I'm going with Ethereum.
What are you laughing about? You own Chainlink.
To the moon, baby.
To the moon.
10x on my chain link.
I love everybody.
I've been
Okay,
buying
go.
Bitcoins the whole show, for the record. That's what I haven't been talking about.
There's multiple people in here who have already told me that during the show they've been buying Bitcoin, but go ahead.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
And it wasn't Andrew.
Oh, by the way, this show is not an investment advice show. I think I have to say that in the beginning of the podcast as well. And there's like legal liability for that. That being said, we're all in. Yo, my girl gonna be so pissed when I sell her engagement ring tonight. Her shit is gone. Don't you want a Bitcoin, baby? That's what I should have put on her fucking ring.
Okay. I have two questions. First question.
Yeah.
When did you buy your first Bitcoin?
I didn't buy the first. Well, actually, I kind of did in 2006. So I was actually like really late to this. Like that's the crazy part.
Yeah.
Is there's people who I know who I know one guy who I think he first bought a Bitcoin. No, he mined it in 2010. Max Kaiser, who's the guy who gave Alex Jones the 10,000 Bitcoin. I gotta think it was 2010, maybe even 2009. Like that's how early some people were into this. Right? It was created in 2009, whatever. In 2014, I worked at Facebook. It's the first time I heard about it. I didn't do shit. Didn't Google it. Didn't do anything. I was kind of like Andrew, like an idiot.
Yeah.
And
successful.
In 2016,
Was it Facebook?
It was a Facebook.
basically a kid pitched me on mining, and he was just like, it's like a data center, blah blah, whatever. So that's where I started. But it was like really small, and I was just like, how does this work or whatever.
So you were
And
on
then-
your computer just doing like math problems? You fucking nerd?
I wasn't doing shit. I basically paid somebody else to figure out how to computer stuff.
When we
But,
get into that, that's something we could get into. Miles is right here. He ain't got shit to do. Miles the miner, baby. Miles the miner.
Let's go,
He's our Bitcoin donkey.
And then in like beginning of 2017 is when I was like, yo, this thing, because everything was just going up in value. It's just the whole idea of like, the greatest thing that happens with Bitcoin is the price goes up. And when the price in US dollar terms goes up, what does it do? It attracts people's attention.
Yeah.
CNBC starts talking about it. The media starts writing about it. People are tweeting about it, like all stuff. People's attention goes. And then what they start to realize is like, wait a minute, there's actual value here. And so there's cycles that happen, right? And this you were talking about earlier, like the boom and bust cycles. And so there was one, let's say, I don't know, 2011. There was another one in like 13, 14, right? There was one in 16 into 17. And now we're in one now. And so each one of those cycles brings more people in. So it's almost like you could think of it like, what year did you graduate from college? Like what vintage are you? The 16, 17 cycle is when I came in. And then from there, it was just like, oh shit, this is valuable. And then the one thing that every Bitcoiner will agree, two things. One is they don't want the US dollar price to go up, right? That's the other. Bitcoiners want the price to stay or go down because they want to buy more Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Right. So they're trying to acquire as much as they can. So they don't want the US dollar price. They don't want to hack it either, but they don't want the dollar price to go up.
Take it to
The
one.
second thing is they constantly feel like they don't have enough. Right, which is this weird thing. Like, I don't know if you guys know who Michael Saylor is.
Yeah.
Right, the MicroStrategy guy. Like he owned 90,000 Bitcoin, right? And then all of a sudden he was like, I think I should buy 15 million more. I bought 300 more. You're like, dude, you bought 300 million, you bought 300 Bitcoin more and you had 90,000 before. And he was like, I think I should buy another 220 or whatever. Like he's got literally billions of dollars and he still wants to buy more, right? So it's this like deep-seated belief, but that's kind of how I think of the cycles and then when I came in.
Do enough. Is that you had another question?
No,
Yeah,
he's got
one
two.
other question. So I'm 24.
All right.
There's still hope for me compared
Yeah.
to some people here.
He
And I'm
looks
wondering,
like shit for 24, doesn't
I'm
he?
wondering,
Bro, have you looked in the mirror?
Yeah, I'm 37.
Let's go, Pomp.
I'm
Let's go,
37, Pomp. This guy's 24.
Yeah.
How old are you?
32.
You're 32?
Yeah.
Oh, you look worse than me for 32. For sure.
Dude, you got
100%.
Listen,
Dude.
do you have the gogoatee because you can't grow hair on the side?
Bro,
of your face?
can you grow hair on the top of your head? Look at your
Not
shit.
right here,
Your
not
shit
right
is
there, not
receding,
right
bro. Stop scratching your shit while you're buying a Bitcoin. You look like you've been mining your scalp.
I'm not listening to these fiat jokes. Keep going.
I'm trying to save my financial career, okay? Come on. Come on. I need to buy a house one day. So I'm
I'm
wondering,
lashing out right now, okay? I'm fucking lashing out.
so what advice do you have for like recent college graduates that are looking to invest in cryptos? Like how should I diversify my portfolio?
I think it's the same thing, right? Of like when you're young, here's a really interesting concept where if I said to you, are you wealthy? Most people would think in terms of dollars, right? Or like financial assets. If I said to you, would you switch lives with Warren Buffett and you get all of his $90+ billion, but you got to be 94, would you do it?
No.
No, right? So actually the more valuable asset is time, not dollars, right? You can't buy more time, right? So this whole concept of like time billionaire. So 1 million seconds is about 7 days, or no, I'm sorry, 11 days, right? Time for 1 billion seconds is 31 years. So at 24, you probably got 2 billion seconds left in your life.
Losers. Got poor of these guys.
Andrew's only got 1 billion
I know,
left.
he's poor on time too, bro.
Fuck, dude.
So
No Bitcoin, no time.
Let's go, Akaash.
So 2 billion seconds. The greatest advantage you have is that you've got literally got 15 years more than he does in terms of financial markets. So like let compounding work for you. The thing that we haven't talked about is Bitcoin has grown 200% compound annual growth rate for 10, 11, 12 years, whatever it's been, right? So like if you start to dollar cost average now, you just constantly keep doing that over time. That's true of every financial asset. And I think that the thing that young people always do as a mistake, and I did the same thing, was like, you just want to be rich today. You're like, yo, I want to be rich today. What can I do? Like, what's the, zero or hero type thing to do? But it's actually not the way that people build wealth, right? Jeff Bezos didn't build his wealth over a year. He's been literally doing this for 30 years, right? And same thing with all these other people. And so it's like, okay, cool. Set a goal, let's say when I'm 30. So you got 6 years. All right, I want to have $1 million when I'm in 6 years. Cool. Do the math. Just back into it. All right. If I invest $20 every week and it compounds at 10% a year for 6 years, what do I have? Okay. That's not $1 million. All right. Go back. And you just start to play with the numbers and you just come up with like, yo, I should put $1,000 in the market. Right? I don't know what the exact numbers are, but $1,000 I should invest every single week. And if it grows at 10% a year, then I'm going to have $1 million in 6 years. Okay. Now how do I get $1,000 a week to invest? Right? You just back into it. And what I think ends up happening is like we live in this weird world where everyone looks at the end result, but they don't back into the plan. And so it's like, you ever heard these people that are like, yo, everyone's like got the dream, but not the plan. But the plan is actually what gets you there. And so the single best thing I've ever done, and I'm not going to go into details before you ask, is I basically started to create like a net worth calculator, right? And so I literally use an Excel spreadsheet. Every month I just update it. And you can literally watch the numbers move. And it's not because I give a fuck like, what, if it goes up, down, whatever, like in the short term, but it's just, I know, yo, is there more money in my bank account this month or last month, right? Did the stocks that I own, which are zero, go up or down, right? Is the real estate, is this like all this stuff? And so you start to track it, and it goes back to this whole idea of like what you measure, you'll move. And so like if I said to you right now, what are you worth? Like you'll start trying to calculate, hey, here's what I own, here's this, here's whatever. But if all of a sudden I said to you, cool, you got to grow 10% between this month and next month. All right, then you start thinking like, how do I do that? And I think that's like the biggest thing is it's the like psychological concept of financial planning, but not in the sense of like, yo, I want to diversify 60-40 in bonds and all this bullshit. It's like, yo, I have a number that I think is really important and I have a timeline on which I want to hit that number. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to back into from where I am today to that number. What do I have to do? And then you'll know I'm either tracking to it or I'm not. And if you're not tracking to it, like go do something else. Like if it's not working, do something else. And I think that's the key to this whole thing. But people are just like, yo, I want to be a millionaire. Okay, how you going to do it? I'm going to get $1 million. Like, not going to happen, right?
Thank you, Anthony.
Yeah,
I like
man.
Your shoes.
It's
What'd you say?
I like your shoes.
Dude, those shoes suck.
I'm team
Adams.com.
Those shoes suck, dude. Who's Adam, dude?
Yo, listen, you want to know the Adams story? Listen, you ready?
Tell me his story.
Here's the Adams story.
Yeah.
You're going to feel like a dickhead now.
Yeah, I'm fucking. If it's anything like Tom, he gives the shoes to the poor kids or something like
even
that.
better.
What's up with these white boys just making sneakers, dude?
So
Just buy the fucking sneakers the black guys made cool. It's that simple.
There you go.
What is this?
So they're both
Put
from Pakistan.
Put your shoe on the table. They're from Pakistan? Forget it, dude. Forget it.
These guys are trying to outlaw Bitcoin.
Dude.
So Akaash and
Fiats?
Sidra.
A bunch of fiats. Adam is for the bomb India should drop on him.
So Akaash and Sidra basically grew up in Pakistan.
Yeah.
And they wanted to get out. And so it's great. Like 6 years ago, 7 years ago, whatever. They don't even know English, right?
Yeah.
Basically come in. They get into Y Combinator in San Francisco, and they're working on a different shoe company. And then there's like, yo, the only way out of this place is we got to build a company. And so they ended up building this company, which are these shoes. They got co-founder of Reddit, Alexis Ohanian, 776, like all these folks who all backed them. And basically what ends up happening is they went and they convinced tech people that they're the most comfortable shoes in the world.
Yeah.
As soon as that happened, then what happens next? then the artistic people, then just keep going like that.
No, it hasn't. It hasn't kept going.
I see how it's Pakistani.
It's
'cause
just-
it looks like you're wearing burqas. Actually, now that I look at it.
That's the thing.
I'm gonna give you your cell phone number. They're coming for you.
But that's the thing. Only tech people wear these things. Nobody else wears them.
Do you want to know what else tech people do?
What do they do?
They use Facebook first. They are on Clubhouse. They're like basically they know all the trends before anybody else.
but not fashion.
Nah, they don't. They don't get no pussy first. Right? All the tech people are just coming to Miami. Like, how do I get into Carbone? You know what I mean? Like, they're nerds.
How do you
bro.
know they're asking? Are they asking you standing outside in
Yeah,
line?
they are asking. Can you get me a Carbone? I'm like, how do I get into Bitcoin?
It's a little knowledge swap there.
It's a knowledge swap. But no, we can't act like they understand.
If you want to
what
go to
looks
Carbone,
cool.
you just get in touch with Andrew.
Exactly, we got this. Dove? No. No, but the thing with tech people is they don't understand anything that like what is it called? Hardware. Like that's what happened with Google with the glasses. Like Google, just do the nerd shit. Don't make glasses because we're not going to wear your nerd things because you don't know what looks cool.
Yeah, the glasses was a little weird.
Anything that they try to do is physical doesn't work.
You think the Apple Car is gonna work though, right?
Of course, Apple Car works. Because Apple's not nerds, bro. What is it?
Drew mentioned this earlier that all finance videos they give this disclaimer. Why is that?
Why?
And what's the disclaimer and why is that?
The disclaimer is just none of this is financial advice. So we
It's
have
all
no
financial advice, but none of it is.
Yeah.
clue.
Yeah.
We have absolutely zero clue what any of us are talking about.
Why do you give the
Why?
So we don't get sued.
Well, yeah. One is so that people don't get sued, and then also two, I think is look. Probably the most important thing that over the last year I've just been like hammering on people is you have to think for yourself. It is so important to do your own research,
It is so much
educate
easier
yourself.
If you just do it. For
Yeah, I don't want to think for myself.
It's
I've been
so
thinking for
easy.
myself for a while, and you've made me feel horrible about myself today. I mean, absolutely horrible. Like, one of the things I was really proud of was the amount of money I have in my bank account, and now I feel horrible about it. I was like, I did this in my lifetime. You know, my mom didn't even go to college, and I did that, and then you took all that away from me. You fucking pizza boy. What the fuck? I am so goddamn upset at you, Pomps. I'm so upset. But I'm all in. Fucking all in, Pops.
I'm not mind it. I'm saying, yeah.
Dude, I'm so upset, but I'm gonna do it. I'm buying a coin today.
You want to know who's been into Bitcoin for a long time? Everyone forgot.
Who?
Ray J, probably. No. Motherfucker got into
Nah,
everything.
he
early.
really did.
Bitches.
That motherfucker.
Everything early. My man understands appreciating assets.
That's the only.
50 Cent was
Of course.
was accepting
course.
Bitcoin for like an album, but I think he sold it for dollars, which wasn't that smart. I'm pretty sure Kevin Durant was in really early, like 2014. He's an investor in Coinbase, I'm pretty sure as well, through 35 Ventures. Murder Beats is big in this. Mr. Beast, like all these guys who have basically just said, look, I got to figure out what it is. I got to play in the game,
At a
right?
certain point, you can't stop the future. I think our thought is this: the future is blockchain, right? But we don't know if this is the future, right? That's basically what our whole thing is.
Yeah, I'm demoralized.
But I think
Are you going to buy $120,000 of Bitcoin now?
I'm gonna do whatever you tell me to do.
right,
You have about 30 minutes left of telling me whatever you want to do, and I'll probably do it. And then on my way home,
And then
about
you'll think for
halfway
yourself?
through, I'm just gonna go, "What the fuck was that asshole talking about? Who the fuck is he? Was he from Rhode Island? Wait, where are you from?
Huh?
Where are you from?
Rhode Island.
I knew you're from. No,
I
where are
can
you?
tell by the
North Carolina.
No, you're not from North Carolina.
Okay, I'm not from North Carolina.
You don't sound like you're from North Carolina at all. Like Chicago or something, not North Carolina. What part of North Carolina?
Raleigh.
Really?
Really?
That's crazy.
I hear it a little
Now
bit.
I don't.
we're going to do a show in Raleigh, which you're not invited to.
That's fine.
Fucking asshole, dude.
You should accept Bitcoin.
Oh,
If you guys could process it.
Shit's getting weird now.
Dude, I'm just so bummed. Okay, so I buy a coin and then I put some money in every week for an extended period of time.
Yeah.
But definitely buy the coin now.
You should, yeah.
I should because I might be more liquid than the average investor.
Yeah.
But you would say for the average person, they should put
Dollar cost average.
dollar cost average. Okay, fine. But you think that I should get in now because
You have no Bitcoin.
I have no Bitcoin and I'm going to mitigate that risk over an extended period of time with dollar cost
It's
average.
and people in the Bitcoin community laugh about all this stuff. Like, there's tons of memes. I'm sure you've seen all this stuff on Twitter or whatever.
Yeah.
But it is legitimately becoming more risky not to own any Bitcoin than to own some.
one of my friends who was dumb early in Bitcoin told me, this is like 2017. I didn't listen. He was like, I think at a certain point it will become irresponsible not to have any Bitcoin. And I think we're getting to that point pretty soon.
Fucking A. Okay. Is there anything, Pomps? You have your own shows that I want them to know about. One, can you tell us really quickly about them? Like, are they?
I basically do this exact same thing, but just with cooler, richer people.
I'm assuming there's no video on this podcast because you wouldn't dress like this. But tell us where they
Yeah,
can
bro.
find it.
We need to switch the digs, dude. I need you to take 10%
I don't
of
mind.
your Bitcoin out,
If
and I need you to
lean
go to
into,
Zara.
I'm rich. I don't need to do this.
Yeah.
I'm with it. But
Yeah.
if you're gonna say like,
Listen, I'm not listening to you motherfuckers about fashion advice.
Bro, look at you, dude. What does this guy dress like? You dress like you should be disappeared. This is, you got to get into this Miami shit, bro. You're trying to do this New York life still. You're not in New York anymore, man. You're in Miami.
Are you staying?
No. Should I? I'll do anything you say. 30 minutes. We're thinking of doing half and half.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're gonna maybe half New York, 6 months New York, 6 months Miami.
More half in New York or Miami?
We just extended for another month, so we'll see how long we keep extending. What should I do? Where should I live?
Well, I'm here now.
Who
full
is?
time? That's it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Question before we get out of here. No, say your shows, and then I have one final question.
Just, people can go on Twitter or just pompletter.com.
Pomp,
Letter.com.
you do a like.
I send a daily email to people and basically just like, yo, this is what's happening. Everyone chill out. When the shit goes down, I'm like, chill out. When shit goes up, I'm like, this is why it's going up.
Okay, that's fire. I'm signing up.
It's easy.
Okay, and then obviously you have your shows, and then you can see on CNBC you arguing with nerds and stuff like that.
It's not really arguing because it's kind of just dunking on them all the time.
Yeah, you're just dunking on these nerds,
I mean, you just smile and laugh and they get real mad and then you're just like,
and they get more poor.
I mean, do I need to say it on the show? Can we just like close out with what everyone wants me to say?
What's that?
It's like, Andrew, have fun staying poor.
Oh my god!
You know that's the saying in on Bitcoin Twitter.
No.
Have fun
Yeah,
staying poor.
they literally tweet at like billionaires who are like, Bitcoin is not going to be the winner, and they're like, cool man, have fun staying poor, like to billionaires and
I'm starting
fucking
to root against Bitcoin now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of assholes.
You guys are spiteful, dude.
Yo, there are a lot of assholes. Just be a millionaire and chill.
Yeah, you are extra about it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not, but
And then somebody's
No, you
going to be
gotta
like,
stop.
fuck you and hack it, and then it all goes to shit.
Yeah, you
I hope the
guys
tweets were worth it.
Yeah, you're the fucking vegans of the currency world. It's just every 2 seconds. Oh, you know how many coins I got? How many coins do you have? 10,000? 150.
I have more than you.
Are we
500.
Are we talking thousands or are we talking hundreds?
I have more than you too.
If it goes to
Keep
zero,
talking that shit, not for long, bro.
yeah, so we coming in, bro. But I'm gonna keep some cash just in case so I can stun on you. You know what I mean?
All right, that's fine. I got a little cash too.
You have a little. You got 4%. It's nothing. Pennies. You got pennies.
The way
You know what I mean?
percentages work is it's all about what the denominator is.
I don't know what that word means. So
That's the total.
got you. I only know common denominator.
Yeah.
That's all I know. I know some fraction shit. I know common denominator. Don't use that word anymore after that. All right, listen, we got to get out of here. I got to go buy some Bitcoin immediately. Thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you very much for coming on. We
Of course.
appreciate
Thank you
you,
guys
bro.
for having me.
We'll definitely keep in touch with you. I hope that as Bitcoin continues to do what it does, maybe we'll get back and you'll be our financial expert for the flagrant financial expert. So we'll
Why do you
definitely
keep
tap
laughing
into
at us,
you.
dog?
Yeah.
Because he
I
said
know.
the flagrant financial expert, which is not what you guys should do.
Well, yeah,
That's why you here.
Exactly. You're here doing it. You're telling us what we should do with our money, making us all rich or poor. Dude, if this doesn't work out, man, oh man, dude. Yeah, it'll be a bad decision.
If it doesn't work, I'm going to move back to New York and you'll never see me again.
Well, New York will be affordable, so don't worry about it. Yeah. So New York is fiat. That shit is. That's the dollar, bro. Hey, you in Miami, you Bitcoin now, baby. You Bitcoin now.
Miami
you
is
converted.
Bitcoin, huh?
Yo, you converted.
Yo, the mayor's just,
In every
you see what the
way.
mayor's trying to do?
What is he doing?
He's trying to put Bitcoin into the city treasury, which I think is a good idea. He wants to pay the employees in Bitcoin, and he also wants to allow citizens to pay city taxes and fees in Bitcoin too.
Progressive.
This guy is a beast, bro.
Andrew, will you pay me
We're trying to
Bitcoin?
get him on the
Cuomo's still
podcast.
diddling women like it's the 80s. This guy, it's the whole city stuck in the past.
You're right, dude.
It's out. You're done.
True.
We're here.
Yo,
baby.
anytime you got de Blasio and Cuomo arguing who's more corrupt, you know shit's fucked up.
Done. They're the dollars.
They're the dollars.
Yeah, they're the epitome of fiat.
They are fiat, dude.
They're probably not going to be happy now that they heard this, but yeah.
I mean, it is what it is. We've said way worse.
I mean, you can just brag
yeah,
that
yeah,
Andrew
yeah.
Cuomo is watching your show.
Yeah, Andrew Cuomo's probably watching my show.
He ain't got shit
You
else to do.
fucking rapist. Just kidding. There's no proof. There's no proof. There's no proof. It's alleged. All this is alleged. And also, none of this is financial advice. Thank you guys so much for listening. We love you. Go check out Pomps. It's Pompliano on Twitter. And on Instagram, it's like _.
I don't use Instagram.
You don't do Instagram. You do have Instagram.
I have one, but I just don't really use it.
But something pops up on it. I follow something on Instagram. That
Pomp
is you.
Global.
Pomp Global. Well, I follow someone else. Someone else is posting.
Have they hit you up and they're like, yo, send me
as
one
you.
Bitcoin, I'll send you 2?
No, they haven't done that, but I would definitely take that deal at this point. Dude, if a Nigerian hits me up and says, listen, I have 5 Bitcoin, I can give you 4 as long as you pay the taxes, you getting all my money, okay? Anything so I can get in. We love you. We appreciate you. Thank you guys so much for listening. Peace.